Mr. Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Whitmire.
Present.
Councilmember Peck will be absent. Councilmember Jackson will be absent. Councilmember Kamen.
Present.
Councilmember Evans Shabazz.
Here.
Councilmember Flickinger. Here. Councilmember Thomas.
Here.
Councilmember Huffman.
Present.
Councilmember Castillo.
Here.
Councilmember Martinez.
Here.
Councilmember Pollard. Here. Councilmember Castex Tatum.
Here.
Councilmember Ramirez.
Here.
Councilmember Davis. Here. Councilmember Carter. Councilmember Salinas. Here. And Councilmember Alcorn.
Here.
Thank you.
Need a motion to adopt the minutes of January 27, 28.
Castex Tatum move.
Tina, second.
Motion made and second. All in favor say yes. Those opposed nay. Motion passes. Any procedural motions?
Salinas for a procedural motion first.
Councilmember Salinas.
Mayor, I move to suspend the rules and add Donetta Hill and Frederick Woods to the top of the 3-minute non-agenda list.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor say yes. Those opposed nay. Motion passes. Councilmember Pollard.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to suspend the rules to add Christopher Rivera, Alfredo Dominguez, Kristen Budwine, and Selena Bry after Ruben Garza on the 3-minute non-agenda list.
Motion made and second. All in favor say yes. Those opposed nay. Motion passes. Anything else? If not, Mr. Secretary, you want to call our first speaker.
Rodney Underwood. Anik Banerjee, to be followed by Hadley Hollingsworth.
All right, so there's like a chance I end up leaving the city in a few months, whatever, for college, probably. So I thought I'd leave a few recommendations while I'm here for just policy changes I'd like to see. So firstly, a complete repeal of all laws involving minimum parking requirements, minimum setbacks, lot sizes, etc. If I ever end up coming back and buying land here, I'd like to be able to build the same kinds of buildings that once made up our historic, quintessentially Houstonian downtowns without being stifled by such regulations. For the average property owner here, your improvements are worth about 4 to 6 times as much as your land. But for slumlords and speculators, that value is near zero. Our current tax scheme lets off the latter group easy at the expense of the former. So if the city could tax land more heavily and property improvements less, it would incentivize a lot more property development, especially in lower income areas that currently lack easy access to urban amenities. I've also been reading through the city's infrastructure design manual, and I thought I'd recommend a few amendments to that. So a general speed limit of no more than 20 miles an hour on all downtown streets, minor collectors, and unclassified streets, and 25 on all major collectors. You obviously should drive slow in the neighborhoods. Most major cities worldwide and small towns in Texas have already recognized that. To properly support speed faster than 20, you got to have protected, physically separated bike infrastructure, so not sharrows or painted bike lanes. And then the lane width, so I would say like 11 to 12 feet on freeways, 10 feet on major thoroughfares, 9 to 10 on all other streets, I think is a fair requirement. Also, the city should do its best to eliminate all like right-angled conflicts on roads faster than 30 miles an hour. So that would be like consolidating medians, closing unnecessary, unprotected intersections, and being a lot more selective with driveway permits on major thoroughfares. And then for most infrastructure projects, the city engineers would spend like months preparing estimates of how much this would cost, which is great, but also once you have that cost estimate, it would take an economist weeks, if not days, to run a full cost-benefit analysis, which would be much more useful. If such an analysis were required for every major infrastructure project, that would prevent the city from investing millions into decades-long debt traps as they currently do.
Your time has expired.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Kamen.
Thank you so much. I know you're a District C resident, and I know you were talking very quickly, but I think you were providing recommendations. You were looking through the city's IDM, the engineering manual, and providing recommendations and suggestions on what you would like to see incorporated into the next iteration of the IDM. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If you'd like to circulate those recommendations, it may be also easier for us to read some of those and pass those along to Public Works. So please feel free to share them via email.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hadley Hollingsworth, to be followed by Matthew Banzer.
Good afternoon. I was signed up to speak in front of this body last week, but because public comment was started well before the city's website stated, I wasn't able to. Regardless, I've decided to come back this week to ensure that my voice and body are added to the count of people who stand in opposition to any city collaboration with ICE. I understand that Senate Bill 4, which you keep hiding behind, may complicate that, But we can't do all the legal research for you. You guys are policymakers, including several attorneys. It's y'all's job to figure something out. Your constituents have made good suggestions, such as limiting interactions with law enforcement by reducing or ending traffic stops for non-safety traffic violations. Additionally, historically, the city has tracked other threats to its residents, such as COVID numbers and extreme weather. When I read SB 4, it does not seem to bar a city from tracking and reporting on ICE movements. If you're going to assert that ICE is a force of nature, then at least treat it like you would a natural disaster. Track, record, report, and offer meaningful services for mitigating harm. Mayor Whitmire, when you wring your hands and say that you care, but there's nothing you can do, and then you go campaign for someone who proudly states that he won't vote for a DHS bill that does not fully fund and empower ICE, you break down trust. Not about party politics, it's about saying one thing and doing the opposite. Furthermore, since you think that no one could have seen the tragic deaths in Minneapolis coming, despite many people predicting how ICE would escalate, let someone with better foresight let you know that there is no amount of compliance that will guarantee Houstonians' safety. So you may as well do what's right. And to the council members who stayed back and listened to your constituents, we appreciate the gesture. And if you're as frustrated as we are that the mayor in this city seems to inexplicably have all legislative and executive power, we're looking for someone to support in 27.
Next.
Matthew Banzer, to be followed by Danetta Hill.
Can you hear me okay? All right. I know this session started with the celebration of the Latino culture in this community, and I think that's great. And I think the progress that we've made as a city is great. But I don't think the progress is going to mean anything unless we stop our involvement with ICE. In December 2024, ICE agent David Corvell was charged with sexually abusing a detainee in a janitor's closet in exchange for letting the woman see pictures of her daughter. On New Year's Eve, an off-duty ICE agent murdered Keith Porter. Early January, ICE murdered Renee Good as she drove away. And a few weeks ago, ICE murdered Alex Peretti after shoving him to the ground and grabbing his gun from his holster. And if anything like that happened in Houston, Texas, I feel like your office would not be prepared for the hellfire that would come from that. ProPublica has even stated more than 170 U.S. citizens have been detained by ICE. And unfortunately, if these events do not change your mind about ICE's involvement with HPD, unfortunately, I don't think anything will. Mr. Whitmire, your party has abandoned you. And as a result, that's what it is. The effort to cast a recall election last year failed, but with continued actions like lying about ICE's involvement with HPD, these signatures will continue to grow. And I think you know this because considering that you ended last week's court hearing or council hearing an hour 30 minutes before it was supposed to end. We had a freeze not too long ago. Many people were scared to even go to a warming center out of fear that ICE would be patrolling the area. And you know this because when you asked about it, you essentially said, why would anybody ask about ICE? Obviously, everybody's come here. What's the big deal? Which I think is ridiculous. If you continue a relationship with ICE, your legacy will not be the mayor that got rid of a couple of bike lanes. Your legacy will be the mayor that bent the knee to the Epstein class so Houstonians could feel less safe. And the city will not forget that. The choice is yours. Thank you for your time.
Next.
Danetta Hill, to be followed by Fred Woods.
My name is Danetta Hill. I'm the aunt of the deceased Corey Young, who was killed in the incident on Homestead at an event. His name was Corey Young. He was 24 years old, and he was there for a short time. I'm asking for justice. I saw videos. I walked those streets. I spoke with neighbors. I went to the businesses. Some of them said officers have not been to them. They have what they need to get who did this to my nephew. My dad gave 36 years to the city of Houston. He retired last year. I have 2 brothers, my son, my son-in-law, and 7 cousins that work for the city of Houston. So he's not just my family, he's y'all's as well. My family has given too much time to the city for us not to get justice. I have not had an officer to my house. I have not had homicide to my house. I've been out in the streets. I've been there, and not one officer was there. Not one homicide. I called the office. They're not calling me back. I didn't get a call until Mr. Woods came and spoke with me and called someone on the phone, and then I got a call. I spoke to a sergeant there. He told me to call back the next day. He don't know what's going on. This crime scene was too big of a scene for him not to know what happened. And I just want justice. These events need to be stopped. I'm not even understanding how, when the police did come out at 7:30, it was only 2 officers out there. This event had been going on since Friday. Lay Road is down the street, so I'm sure they should have been patrolling the area. Little York have horseback mounted officers. I'm sure they could have been on horses because the crowd was too out of control. There was no one there to protect or serve my nephew. I'm not saying y'all couldn't stop the people from having guns, but this many hands should not have been involved. He was not the only one that was hit, but he's the only one that didn't survive. We want answers. We want justice. We just need somebody to let us know. I have information, but no one's come to talk to me. I've reached out. I've called again. I didn't get attention until Mr. Woods called someone. So I'm here today just asking if y'all would please somebody take our time. If this was y'all child, y'all baby. My baby left his food on the table. Somebody called him to come out. He didn't go out there for long. He was on his way back home to us when it happened, and he didn't make it. We never got a call from no one saying your son or grandson or nephew has been. We never got that. We was at the hospital for hours. They put us out the hospital in the freezing cold.
Let me express on behalf of all of us, our sympathy goes to your family for the loss of your nephew. There are 2 key witnesses still in a hospital, so it's an active investigation which took place in the county, and the chief and his staff have been in close contact. I'm guessing it would be your sister, would be the mother and father, so there's a great line of communications getting to the outcome of this tragedy.
They've been in contact with who, Max?
They've been talking to your nephew's parents.
No.
Well, that's
no.
The information I'm furnished.
No.
But I'll tell you what we'll do to continue to reach the bottom of it. Would you talk to Rebecca Williams in my office or Ms. Wilson, and we'll help you make the contact that you're looking forward to.
I know that's not true because I'm my brother's sister. I'm the only sister.
Yeah, well,
His mom,
I'm just
they're
telling
at
you the
my
best
home.
information I have because it's an active investigation. They're waiting for the 2 individuals in the hospital to be able to, actually, they know who they had the encounter with. So let me get you to talk to someone on my staff, my chief of staff, that'll help you make contact with HPD and get you the best information available.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Yes.
Next.
Fred Woods.
Good afternoon. I want to thank Councilmember Salinas for her collaboration and partnership in the absence of my Councilmember Tarsha Jackson. Mayor, you listened to us 2 years ago. At that time, neither you nor our community imagined this would go beyond a nuisance to the point that we would lose a precious life. And we thank you for listening then and the sympathy you've shown now. So here we are again before you. The same person now has blood on their hands while recklessly organizing events without any consideration for the safety of innocent citizens that simply wanted to enjoy themselves or live peacefully and safely in their own neighborhood. They are organizing events that encourage trigger-happy thugs to show up and have free reign to take the lives of innocent people. This person is all about the dollar, not the law. And jail time and loss of income are the only ways to get their attention. We must strengthen the ordinance with punishments to discourage bad actors. We are asking that you and this council begin the process of revising the ordinance this week and deciding if a statute is necessary to undergird the revised ordinance by the end of next week. A draft of the revised ordinance and proposed statute is to be reviewed with us in a meeting during the week of February the 15th. Let us know who the participants will be for this effort. We will email everyone our contact information. We must come together quickly. I know you agree. A life is too precious to let anyone continue to make money off the blood of our community. Thank you.
Next.
Emma French. be followed by Grace Kesterson.
Good afternoon. I'm here today to speak on behalf of the hundreds of people who came to this council chamber last Tuesday with one voice and one call that this city stop its cooperation with ICE. The morning after that public session, I had the privilege to be in this room to hear this council speak about the comments made that night, and I was very disappointed to hear most of you dismiss what was said by the people of the city. Councilmember Davis, you mentioned that in order for the comments brought forth last Tuesday to be taken with any seriousness, that they needed to have been made with respect and decorum. I ask you, what was respectful about this council when you limited people's time to 1 minute without notification? What was respectful about this council when you decided to move the meeting time up by 30 minutes without notification to the speakers? And I ask you, frankly, what is respectful about this council's cooperation with an agency that is now kidnapping people off the street and now killing people and killing American citizens? With all the respect that you are due, shame on you. That morning, I heard this council congratulating each other on a job well done during the winter freeze, just 12 hours after you heard a woman in my position tell you that at the warming centers where she worked, people avoided the city's help because she saw ICE patrolling the area. People were afraid of being detained, so much so that they avoided being warm that weekend. Councilmember Martinez, you said that you're a proud representative of the immigrant community. There's a flyer on your desk that should have been handed out to you. It's about a gathering tonight and a fundraiser for Mauro Sanchez, who was a high schooler in your district who was detained by ICE. I expect that you will be there. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Right, Councilmember Evan Chavez? That's what you said that night. You and Councilmember Salinas seem to have been the only ones listening. I don't think Mayor Whitmire is listening to me right now. And I don't think a lot of people around this table are listening to me right now. I think you're listening. I think you're listening. I think you two are listening. And so I'm asking you, with all of your power, please do something. I cannot do anything. I have 3 minutes in front of you today, and that's it. That is where my power ends. So I'm asking you to please do something about the ICE operations in Houston. Please protect your neighbors. Please protect this city. It takes a lot of courage to be up here. There's a lot of people that have spoken in front of you, and so I'm asking a lot of you to take a step, to stand up against people who are not standing with their neighbors. Please get ICE out of Houston. Thank you.
Next.
Grace Kesterson, to be followed by Christine Wardwell.
Good afternoon. I'm here, like many, to speak out against ICE. Regardless of anyone's personal views on immigration, what's happening locally and nationwide is creating instability, fear, and long-term trauma to children and families who are neighbors and parts of this community. I'm also here as a parent whose son is directly affected by this climate of fear. He finds himself stressed out thinking what he might have to do in an emergency to keep his friends safe. I urge you to think about that. Children should not be carrying this fear and anxiety about whether their family will be torn apart, whether the people they love will disappear, or their friends. I'm not asking this council to control federal policy. I'm asking you to consider what role our city plays in either increasing harm or protecting its residents, our neighbors and friends. We cannot claim to value and celebrate diversity while allowing our community to live in fear because of it. I urge you to prioritize transparency and to ensure our city resources are not contributing to this fear, and to publicly affirm that families deserve safety, dignity, and due process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christine Wardwell, to be followed by Sandra Burnett.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council members, and fellow Houstonians. My name is Christine Wardwell. I'm a resident of Houston and a recently retired teacher. I am here thinking about children like 5-year-old Liam Ramos and his bunny hat, kids who deserve stability, safety, and the basic assurance that their families won't disappear overnight. Recent ICE activity and the City of Houston's silence raise serious governance concerns. When enforcement actions happen without transparency, oversight, and clear boundaries with local authorities, it undermines due process and erodes public trust in government at every level. In neighborhoods across our city, from Gulfton to East End, from Alief to Acres Homes, families are in fear. People are being detained suddenly, loved ones separated, and communities destabilized. These aren't abstract policy issues, these are Houston residents. From a public safety standpoint, this matters. When people are afraid to report crimes, cooperate with investigations, or seek emergency help because they fear immigration consequences, it makes us all less safe. Law enforcement experts around the country have said this repeatedly. Community trust is essential to public safety. I understand immigration enforcement is federal, but the City of Houston has the authority over local agencies, how local agents interact with federal enforcement, how information is shared, and what standards of due process and transparency are expected within the city limits. Other cities have exercised that authority responsibly. So today, I urge you to act in your role as stewards of public safety and civil rights. Issue a public statement affirming that Houston does not support intimidation or unjust targeting of residents. Reaffirm in writing and in policy that HPD will not cooperate with ICE without a judicial warrant. Clearly define and enforce limits on ICE's engagement within the city departments to protect due process. Hold public hearings on ICE activity in Houston so residents can hear directly what city leadership, ask questions, and hold institutions accountable. Require agents to use body cameras and refrain from masks. These are reasonable governance steps. Houston deserves something better than your silence. Strong leadership means setting clear boundaries, standing up for due process, and protecting the city and its residents. Silence is a form of collaboration. I ask you to act. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Sandra Burnett. To be followed by Keith Porter, Sr.
Good afternoon. My name's Sandy Burnett, and I'm a resident of Houston. And I'm here today, like many other people, to speak out against ICE operations in the city. It's about how enforcement is carried out in our city, the lack of due process and local accountability. Our current state, we're undermining our citizens and residents by cooperating with a federal agency that does not follow our Constitution, nor do they follow their written policy. These agents should only be acting on judicial warrants. They shouldn't be going through house hunting neighborhoods or stopping vehicles. People are being detained. Some of those detentions are being done without clear warrants, and that creates risk. And frankly, it's a lazy way and dangerous way to do the intended work. And the consequence to the people it's exponential. People are following the process for citizenship. They're paying, and it's costly, right? They're paying for their path and getting deported anyway. People mistakenly detained. How about their economic and emotional repercussions? Who's gonna get them back onto their job if they're gone? They're gone from their job 2 or 4+ weeks. Our due process is constitutional principle. It's not a political one. ICE is a federal agency operating within Houston. Our local leaders should understand the standards that are being used and how the operations are being conducted. Transparency protects all of us. Like it's been said, this operation is weakening public safety citywide because we're losing trust in all of y'all. And I'm not even going to touch on the fiduciary costs that that's hitting our city. But I'm going to finish with my clear ask to City Council. Affirm Houston's authority under Texas law to set clear limits on how city resources and personnel are being used. Require that any cooperation with ICE is based on solely judicial warrants, not neighborhood patrols, not traffic stops or fishing expeditions. Take a leadership role to ensure that state and federal do not infringe on Houston by protecting us, your citizens, prioritizing our constitutional due process, public safety, and fiscal responsibility. This should include our HPD being able to arrest federal agents for assaulting anybody.
Thank you. Next.
Keith Porter Sr., to be followed by Michael Bastain.
Hello, council members. My name is Keith Porter Sr., and I want to take a moment to talk about my son, Keith Porter Jr., that was killed in California on New Year's Eve. I'm a resident here. I've been here for 21 years, and coincidentally, when it happened, I was here, so I had to go home to take care of it. But I have something that I wrote, and I want to read it to you, please. Okay. My name is Keith Porter Sr., and I stand before you as a father whose world was forever changed on New Year's Eve. My son, Keith Porter Jr., was taken from us, taken in a way no parent should ever have to face, taken by someone sworn to protect the public, taken when he should have been safe, alive, and looking toward a new year. Keith was more than a headline. He was more than the circumstances of his death. He was my child. From the moment he first opened his eyes, he brought joy, curiosity, and light into the world. As he grew, he became a young man filled with energy, ambition, and love for his family. He had dreams, real dreams, of building a future, of contributing to his community, simply living the life every young person deserves a chance to live. And now those dreams are gone. Losing a child is a pain that has no name. There is no word strong enough to describe this kind of hurt. But what I do know is that we cannot allow Keith's story to be ignored, dismissed, or forgotten. We cannot allow a system that permits tragedies like this to continue unchanged. I am not here today to speak with anger, though I would have every right to. I am here to speak with purpose. My son deserves truth. He deserves justice, and our community deserves accountability. No father should have to bury a child taken by unnecessary violence. No family should have to stand in our place, asking why and how and what could have been done to prevent this. We are here because Keith's life mattered. We are here because the truth matters. We are here because justice matters. To everyone who has shown love, support, and strength during this dark time, I thank you for your presence. Reminds us that we are not alone. Your voices remind us that change is possible, and your compassion reminds us that even in tragedy, there can be unity and hope. In honoring my son, I ask only this: remember him, remember his smile, his potential, his humanity. Say his name, not just in sadness, but in commitment to seeking justice, to demanding accountability, and to ensuring that what happened to Keith Porter Jr. never happens to another family again. Keith, my son, I will carry you with me for the rest of my life. And I promise you this: your father will not stop fighting for you. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Councilmember Pollard.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Porter. For one, thank you for coming, but my and our sincere condolences on the loss of your son.
Thank you.
I was not familiar with the connection, the Houston connection to your son, but we have heard his name, his story over the past several weeks. And although there's nothing that we can do to bring your son back or to aid in alleviating any heartache that you may experience, I do want you to lean on us as a body to try to get answers for you. If there are issues that you're having with other jurisdictions for answers, for clarity, for insight, for support, please lean on us to do so, and maybe we can use our resources to get you those answers, or at least open up those lines of communication. And again, I'm very deeply sorry for your loss, and God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Councilman Kamen.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Porter, I want to thank you for coming. Unimaginable what you're going through for those of us that are parents. I was just at a vigil with Councilmember Salinas last night at Gulf Coast AFL-CIO for Ms. Good and Mr. Preddy, and Mr. Preddy was a union member. But we're reminded that they are not the only ones that have been killed or shot or injured by ICE agents. And I appreciate so much your voice, but also your stand for your son.
Yes, absolutely.
That it's not out of hate, but out of love.
Yes.
And you have a commitment from me, I know others around this horseshoe, not just to say his name, but to lift up his life, his legacy, and the work that you're doing as you continue to fight for justice for him.
Yes, thank you.
Councilmember Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Thank you for coming. I personally could not imagine the pain that you have to bury your namesake. When he came in this world, you had a vision for who he would be. And I know you were proud of him. And I was familiar with the story when it hit. And oftentimes, black folks are left out of that conversation. And we've been saying for decades, for years, for centuries, how this domestic terrorism has been impacting us every day, all through communities. And so you stand here. I'm in awe of you and your strength and who you are. And as your council member, I have a staff member who's here, Sarai. She'll be able to assist you and follow up. And my intention is to stay in contact with you. To Councilmember Pollard's point, however we can advocate across government lines for you and with you, consider that done. That is the least our reasonable level of service to you. And however we can support you as a family member of a victim. Oftentimes, victim stories are talked about in the horseshoe, and I think sometimes we forget the trauma and the impact long-term of how your life has changed permanently. So consider this our starting point, and that we will continue to work together to make sure that we remember his name, we say his name, and that we make sure that we stand for those just like him, that they're not caught in this crossfire moving forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Next.
Michael Bastain. Michael Bastain. To be followed by Ruben Garza.
Mr. Porter, my deepest condolences for you, and the purity of your heart really showed through just now. It's very touching, and it makes me feel a little bad about bringing what I'm bringing forth right now. Mayor, members of the council, my name is Michael Bastion. I spoke to this council a year ago about a violation on a property I had that I own in the Highland Heights. The only street access I have to this lot has been blocked by a squatter who has fenced off a city street. The city had issued violation notices for the fenced off street, but then stopped all removal efforts when the squatters filed suit against the city to take the property via adverse possession, which you can't do. A year ago, I was assured by this council, the mayor's office, and the city's attorney's office that the violation would be put on hold until the lawsuit was dispatched. 4 months after this assurance was given to me, Without notification or contact by any kind, a citation and warrant was issued. The city started the abatement process to cut the grass. Again, without any contact, in December, the city placed a lien on my property. My first knowledge of this, of any kind, was a letter from Linebarger et al. Last week requesting a $1,500 payment for cutting the grass on the property, or it would be seized and sold. I have been trying to sell this property for 3 years and have had 2 contracts fall through due to the squatter blocking access. I have dutifully paid property taxes every year on time for 15 years on that property. I feel like the city has aggrieved me by failing to remove the squatter initially, assuring me the citation would be put on hold, and now placing a lien on my property threatening sale without a $1,500 payment. What I would like is the city to give me dispensation with regards to the abatement and remove the lien from my property. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. No,
Ruben Garza.
I can't resolve.
To be followed by Christopher Rivera.
Mr. Mayor and City Council, thank you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ruben Garza. I am the local conversation leader for the Houston chapter of Strong Towns, which is part of the National Strong Towns organization. For those of you who do know me, I'm terribly sorry. No one likes to go to no one goes to world-class cities and comes back to say, I loved it, there was plenty of parking. When we think of a parking problem, it's often framed as a supply problem. However, after many years of research and reform in cities like Buffalo, San Jose, Austin, and over 100 more, we now know that it's a management problem. We charge little to nothing for on-street parking and mandate off-street parking spaces for an incredible and inexplicable number of land uses when, unsurprisingly, people hogged all the spots. The research now shows that because of minimum parking mandates and a lack of adequate pricing for off-street spaces, Houston is congested, polluted, overpriced, and overbuilt. We mandate more homes for cars than for people, and we pave over communities and neighborhoods for parking lots. UCLA researcher and recently passed Donald Shoup debunked this insane parking regime in 2005 when he published The High Cost of Free Parking, a book that I recommend for every single person in the horseshoe, if I haven't screamed it already. In that book, he suggested 3 reforms that should be implemented, I believe, in the city of Houston. Number 1, remove all minimum parking requirements. That is Chapter 26-492. Just look at all the tables and put a big X over all of them. Don't need them. Charge the lowest price for on-street parking that will leave at least 1 to 2 open spaces, and dedicate the meter revenue for local improvements via Parking Benefits District. We have 3 PBDs, Parking Benefits Districts, in the city of Houston. They've done incredible work to maintain our local infrastructure at zero cost to the general fund. We can and do need more of these PBDs, and we do need off-street metering to monitor and maintain on-street parking to ensure that there will always be a space open for people and that we can dedicate that revenue to improve local infrastructure without raising taxes, without doing any serious reform that's going to require years of planning and processing. These are 3 simple reforms that have been enacted in cities across the country to a resounding success. If Houston were to eliminate its minimum parking requirements, we would have the distinct honor of being the largest city in the United States to do that. Right now, that title goes to Austin, and I think I can speak on behalf of some Houstonians here that I think we'd like to be the biggest city, especially leapfrogging Austin. Thank you.
Just a moment, Councilman Pollard.
Thank you, Mayor. Ruben, thank you for coming forward. And thank you for your advocacy on this topic. You have done a great job of educating myself and some of my colleagues on what other cities have been able to do, understanding the dynamics of how unpaved lots for parking could have some unintended consequences, especially when it comes to development, when it comes to property value, when it comes to just being able to utilize that land and that property in a much more beneficial way for everyone. And I think this is something that we need to explore. Some of the rationale and reasoning for why the parking standards are the way they currently are is just kind of antiquated. And as a growing metropolitan city that is getting more dense, these are some of the discussions that I think are necessary for us to have. So thank you for bringing it to the forefront.
Thank you, Councilmember. Can I just say one thing about the minimum parking requirements, just real quick? Those tables are massive in 26-492, but the one I always like to talk about is the 14 spaces per 1,000 square feet of general floor area for bars. That is one of the highest ratios in the country. That is a recipe for drinking and driving, only to be followed right behind by restaurants, which I believe is 10 spaces, taverns, which is 8. Some of these requirements have no sound logic. There's no statistically significant relationship between them, and they're a public safety hazard. So I respectfully ask that the City Council take up a measure to repeal 26-492 in its entirety.
Councilor Ramirez.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ruben, for coming forward and raising this issue. We had a discussion earlier today about the open spaces ordinance, which raises important questions about land use, and your comments about our parking ordinance are related. What are our land use rules, and do they make sense economically? And I hope that your efforts will result in our planning department taking another look at how we manage our parking here in Houston, because from what I've heard, it seems like there are more efficient ways to handle our parking situation. But I appreciate your outreach and highlighting this issue.
Thank you, Council Member.
Sir Castillo.
Thank you, Mayor Rubin. I appreciate you mentioning the requirements around bars, nightclubs, taverns. Not only is it encouraging drinking and driving, we've seen across the city, particularly in neighborhoods like Montrose, you've seen a bungalow torn down to turn it into a parking lot. So you're losing housing, you're getting parking, and the lot is sitting almost empty most days of the week.
Undertaxed very heavily, too.
It's definitely something that should be looked at as cities grow and develop and uses change. So thanks for being here and raising the issue.
Thank you, Council Member.
Councilman Pollard.
Thank you, Mayor. And I just want to highlight a couple more things. When you think of these big surface lots in the city, they're being taxed every year based on their appraised property value, which is low compared to a lot that may be across the street that has a building on it, right? But they're still utilizing the same infrastructure, all of the same city services that we're putting forth from an economic standpoint. And when I talk to developers on this issue, many times the developers are saying that regardless of what the parking minimum standards may be, they're going to build whatever development that they want based on their own vision of what parking should look like. So if they believe they need a big lot for their development, they're going to do it regardless. No one is going to have less parking spaces because they think it's going to be detrimental to their business. I think the big question becomes, how do we address neighborhood concerns? And if there is not any adequate or perceived adequate parking in the commercial space, does that flow into the neighborhoods that say, okay, we don't have anywhere to park to go into retail or the stores or the business, so we'll park in the neighborhoods. And then the neighborhoods start to get, they start to email us. So that's the dynamic at play, and I think it's more of an education than impediment. And so we have to take the time to educate and see what other cities have done that have been beneficial as we look into this matter going forward. So thank you.
One last quick suggestion real quick. On the education front, there is a data analytics firm named Urban3 that does a fantastic land value per acre map for cities that they contract with. Strong Towns Houston and Strong Towns National has fantastic connections with Urban3. They are a key partner in a lot of our economic analyses. I'm happy to make the connections between folks at Urban3 and the City of Houston to explore what that looks like, so that way we can get an understanding of what is our land value currently being, what does our land value look like, how are we using it, and how we can get the most out of it to help the city's financial struggles.
Thank you. Ruben, thank you as always. I'm so impressed just by your brain and the information that it holds. It's always very impressive, and I appreciate the dialogue because, again, we don't want people drinking and driving. We need land for housing. There's a lot of issues at play. But, again, the challenge, as Councilmember Pollard brought up, is if and when you limit parking, especially around bars, we do see cars parking, people are still driving, and then they're parking in the neighborhoods. And then you not only have drinking and driving in the neighborhoods, you have car break-ins. There's a whole host of issues that come with that, not just the emails to our office. And we're seeing that play out in multiple District C neighborhoods. We want to incentivize walkability. We want to incentivize ride share, right, or other safe modes. What do you recommend to offset, okay, if you're limiting parking, how do you prevent folks from just taking their car and parking in those neighborhoods?
So part of that is, and I don't want to take too much time from the other public speakers here, but part of that involves a rigorous enforcement and pricing mechanism, as Professor Shoup recommended and as cities have implemented. There is dynamic price parking. It's my understanding that most on-street meters don't charge past 6 p.m. So once you do see those spillover effects into residential neighborhoods, because it becomes a free-for-all free parking along the neighborhoods where there are no meters or where nothing is being charged, and there are residential permit programs and some time limits that neighborhoods can vouch and petition for if spillover does become a concern. You'll see cities like Buffalo and Austin have done tremendous work in there too. And again, the neighborhood incentive to run the meters past a certain time and to keep these dynamic prices is to then recapture that money into the PBD. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the Washington Heights PBD and parts of the Museum District PBD are in District C. And they've done fantastic work in improving infrastructure. So, there's a bit of a trade-off of, okay, there may be some cars that kind of come onto the streets. And with respect to the enforcement, some cities, like I believe Redwood, California, and Ventura, California, have used the PBD excess funds to pay for strict enforcement, have a police officer monitoring that area up and down to make sure that there are, reduced break-ins or that people do feel safe. And all of that is paid for by the parking money. So, visitors come into the neighborhoods, they pay the meters, and that meter funds public safety as well as any other infrastructure improvements that are considered by the PBD Advisory Board and how we currently do it here in the city.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next.
Christopher Rivera, to be followed by Alfredo Dominguez.
Thank you, everybody. And my name is Christopher Rivera. I work with the Texas Civil Rights Project. I'm also a member of the Rice Coalition. I just want to let everyone know that this will actually be like a daisy chain of conversation. I'll speak, and then the rest of the Rice Coalition will come on and add more points to this issue. But I want to really thank Councilmember Pollard and Thomas today for working with the Rice Coalition on an ordinance that addresses addresses non-safety traffic stops. Together, we have worked on this issue in the last 2 years. And we've been building this, and this has been building for the last 2 years, and it actually goes before any of the current federal government actions. This work began nearly 5 years ago, actually, when TCRP represented a client whose son was killed during a non-safety traffic stop. Sadly, this is not an isolated case. There have been many people who have lost their lives during a non-safety traffic stop, and those include Sandra Bland, Philando Castillo, Patrick Layoya, and Tyree Nichols. Black and brown drivers shouldn't feel that their life is in danger when they are pulled over for a traffic stop. The Rice Coalition was formed to push data-backed solutions and address the racial disparities that are associated with non-safety traffic stops. Non-safety traffic stops are known as non-moving vehicle violations, which include expired registration or dark-tinted windows. Violations that studies have found are not associated with increasing road safety or effective ways to fight crime. As we examine HPD's data, we notice that there are high racial disparities when it comes to black and brown drivers. For example, Black drivers make up the plurality of non-safety traffic stops, searches, arrests, and use of force cases, but yet only represent 23% of the Houston population. When we noticed these racial disparities, we reached out to pretty much everyone in the horseshoe to discuss our findings. We met with former HPD Chief Benner and his team to discuss the data, and we requested a time to meet with Chief Diaz. RISE met with HPOU to discuss a possible solution that worked for both the driver and the officer. When we are now at a pivotal moment, and we have an opportunity to really make a difference, by passing an ordinance that will redirect public safety in a way that frees officers' resources and time to respond to emergency calls, reduce the racial disparities associated with traffic stops, and lower road injuries and fatalities. Deprioritizing non-safety traffic stops will make Houston roads safer for both the driver and the officer. I'm going to let my colleagues chime in to discuss the rest of the findings, but also the memos I just handed to you has the ordinance in there and has some legal language that my colleagues will cover, but I'll yield my time for my colleagues.
Alfredo Dominguez.
I know we got a fun setup today. But yeah, first I want to thank council. I want to thank Councilmember Pollard and Councilmember Thomas for really facilitating this conversation. So my name is Alfredo Dominguez. I'm an employee of People's Council, a member of RISE Houston, and a resident of District H. We've been working on this, like Chris said, and we've been meeting with Pollard and Thomas regularly for over the past year and have had meetings with you. You have tried to have meetings with every single person sitting in this room. We really appreciate the opportunity to present a more comprehensive analysis here of our ordinance that wants to direct HPD to prioritize actual safety issues and dangerous driving practices by ending stops that hurt Houstonians without making our roads safer. As my colleague Chris stated, our goal of deprioritizing non-safety traffic stops is rooted in data analysis as much as the lived experience of drivers of color in Houston. We are concerned about the officer and community safety. We know that there have been some public questions about the data underlying our proposal, and I want to share some of that data with you. Every number we cite is directly sourced from HPD's Police Data Transparency Hub or the data HPD submits to TCOL, the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement themselves. Non-safety traffic stops account for about a third of all HPD traffic stops. This is about 100,000 stops in 2025. When we came here last year, we had hoped that ending traffic stop quotas through the ordinance passed in May 2025 would reduce the number of non-safety traffic stops, but we did not see that happen. The number of non-safety traffic stops stayed consistent between 2024 and 2025, even though that ordinance was passed in the middle of the year. We have to really consider that number in context, right? This is, thousands of hours that we're talking. Let's assume the traffic stop is 10 minutes, right? Let's assume a traffic stop is 5 minutes. You're still talking about thousands of hours of officer time that's happening and being spent on pulling people over for non-safety violations. As alluded to by Chris, there are major racial disparities in non-safety traffic stop enforcement. It is not only that black drivers are a plurality of the people stopped in non-safety traffic stops interaction, about 42% of the people stopped, even though they represent 22% of the population. When you look at the numbers on use of force incidents stemming from traffic stops, black people make up around 60%, and that's a consistent trend over the course of the last 5 years, right? When you're talking about being the gross majority of people who are forces being used upon in traffic stop instances, and there's no argument here to be made about, the person couldn't tell who they were pulling over, which is the argument that is made. When someone's actually pulled over in those use of force incidents, like we're saying, we're seeing black people be disproportionate victims in use of force incidents. HPD tells us that they need these stops to prevent more serious crime, but the data tells us a different story. According to the data submitted to TCOL, in 2023, HPD conducted 126,000 non-safety traffic stops and found contraband in around 5% of those stops, and found and actually performed arrest in only about 3% of those stops. These numbers have remained consistent for the last few years. If non-safety traffic stops are wasteful and spend officer resources and officer time, in the time when the city is continually asking itself how it's going to meet its fiscal responsibilities, if they are dangerous to black drivers and to brown drivers, and if they're ineffective at finding contraband and delivering on arrests or delivering on strong enforcement, why are we still doing that?
Your time has expired.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll see the rest of the time to Kirsten.
Kirsten Budwine. To be followed by Selena Bray.
Good evening. My name is Kirsten Budwine. I'm a policy attorney with the Texas Civil Rights Project, and I'll be summarizing the memo that's in front of you, and I'll open myself up for questions. So the purpose of this amendment, as my colleagues have already said, is to prioritize the traffic enforcement of dangerous driving practices and to end traffic stops that hurt Houstonians and have little to no impact on road safety. Page 5 through 6 of the memo lays out an amendment to Section 45-2 and 45-8 of the Houston Code of Ordinances. The amendment to Section 45-2 defines a primary safety violation to mean any of the 8 violations that are listed, and a secondary safety violation to mean any traffic-related violation or offense not defined as a primary safety violation. The main part of this amendment is under Section 45-8, which would maintain an officer's discretion to initiate a stop for any primary violation while prohibiting HPD from initiating stops for secondary violations. Secondary violations can still be addressed during stops for primary violations or through any other lawful means that is in the toolbox of HPD. The section directs HPD to prioritize enforcing offenses directly tied to road crashes and fatalities while deprioritizing enforcement for non-moving violations. During a meeting with HPOU, the union raised concerns that we addressed in sections C through E. And so I want to be clear that this amendment does not limit HPD's authority to enforce a judicial order or arrest warrant. It does not limit HPD's authority to act pursuant to a criminal investigation from conducting a motor vehicle stop for a secondary violation while investigating an offense involving violence as defined by Texas Criminal Procedure Article 17.03, nor does it expand a right, remedy, or cause of action not otherwise established by law. And then I want to also be clear that City Council does have the legal authority to pass this ordinance. As a home rule municipality, Texas state law grants Houston the express legal authority to regulate traffic within its city limits. The Texas Supreme Court has been clear and has ruled that home rule municipalities are given all powers not preempted by state law, and that these powers are only limited where preemption is clear and compelling. And the intent of the legislator is to pose such limits appears with unmistakable clarity. Not only is the traffic stop amendment not preempted by state law, but state law expressly authorizes home rule cities to have exclusive control over the public highways and streets of the municipality under Section 3111.001 of the Texas Transportation Code. Texas courts have interpreted this statute broadly by stating there can be no serious debate that regulation of traffic is a quintessential function of a city's police power, especially given the statutory grant to a city to authority.
Your time has expired.
I'll give you a few seconds to wrap up, and then I have some comments.
Yeah, I also wanted to point out that under Houston's Code of Ordinances, Article 7, Section 10 of the city charter, it gives legislative powers to the city council. 7A gives council the authority to govern the operations of each department, which also includes HPD. And in fact, Section 34-22 of the city's Code of Ordinances provides that the chief of police is quote unquote, subject only to the orders and actions of the city council and mayor. And so council, as my colleague had mentioned, council actually recently exercised its legislative powers under this when it passed the traffic stop quota ordinance back in, I think, of May of 2025. And so this ordinance would fall under those same powers.
So I appreciate you laying that out and for the statutory guidelines and case law that you all have provided, as well as provisions of the city charter that speak to this council's governing authority. When we did meet with HPOU several times over the past year, maybe more, they did have concerns regarding how this would impact certain day-to-day operations that they may have from an investigatory standpoint. And based on that, I see you all have laid out, as you mentioned, sections C, D, and E on page 6, which makes exceptions for when HPD still would have the authority to engage and stop vehicles in certain situations. And so C states nothing in this section shall be construed to limit a law enforcement officer's authority to enforce a judicial order or arrest warrant. Nothing in this section shall prohibit law enforcement officers acting pursuant to a criminal investigation from conducting a motor vehicle stop for a secondary violation while investigating an offense as defined by this provision of the criminal code. I think those were two very strong additions to that, and I want to credit you all for listening to HPOU and some of the insight of the officers as we were trying to find a balanced approach to explore. And I do think the way that this is laid out is something for us to consider, and it could be looked at as a win-win because our HPD officers are spread very thin. And when we know we have limited officers with limited capacity, what are we doing to ensure that they're as efficient as possible with their time, focusing on more high-level criminal violations and harms to society? So I just want to thank you for the work and look forward to reviewing it.
Thank you, Councilmember Kamen.
Thank you so much. And again, for providing some of the legal context for this. Does this in any way preclude the City of Houston or HPD from being able to, for example, issue citations for infractions through the mail? So if they witness somebody, let's say, under one of the classifications where they're not to pull necessarily someone over, does that prohibit citations other ways?
No.
And thank you. And does the a lot of the data, and I know we had other speakers, so I want to thank everyone for working on this and providing this information, for meeting. I know we just met today, and I had asked the question, you know, where is a lot of this data coming from? And we had also talked about the transparency dashboard with HPD. Does some of the data that you're pulling come from there? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so I want to say that the 8 offenses that are listed as primary violations, we're not pulling them out of thin air. We've pulled the data from TxDOT, Houston's Vision Zero reports, and then HPD's own fatal crash data. So when a car crash happens and there's a serious injury or a death, an officer has to mark off what caused that injury. And so we looked at the top 8 contributing factors of traffic deaths and serious injuries, and so that's where those 8 offenses are coming from.
Thank you. And I know I had posed some other questions I know y'all will get back to me on related to, again, as we've had other speakers come talking about other issues that the city is grappling with right now, how we can update the dashboard to be providing information that is beneficial to residents in the community and to HPD as well in this partnership.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Ramirez.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for being here, and thank all of you for the work that you've done. I appreciated the meeting that we had and the opportunity to review your proposed ordinance. I know a lot of thought has gone into it. I do want to share one concern I have with it. I agree with you that as a home rule city, Houston has the authority to pass ordinances, right, to promote the general welfare. But one thing we cannot do is pass something that's inconsistent with state law, that doesn't follow state law. And so one of the concerns I have is in your proposed Section 45-8B, officers of the Houston Police Department are hereby prohibited from initiating a motor vehicle stop for blah, 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 secondary, what you guys call secondary violations. I think that conflicts with state law, and I'd ask you to take a look at Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, Article 2.13, where the duties and powers of peace officers are set out, and specifically B1, where it says the officer shall, in every case authorized by the provisions of this code, interfere without warrant to prevent or suppress crime. And we know that our officers, when they graduate from the academy and they assume their duties, they're sworn to uphold Texas laws. And so I think if we tried to pass this, it would conflict not only with state law, but would put them in the position of being sworn to uphold state law, yet there's an ordinance that prohibits them from enforcing state law. So I don't think your proposed ordinance would work. I respect all the time and effort you put into it, and welcome any revisions you might have. But I think maybe you'd have better success if you could convince the legislature, and this is to Councilmember Kamin's point, to make it easier to enforce non-safety violations without having to pull someone over, right?
Yes, sir. Can I respond to you?
Sorry?
Can I respond?
Absolutely.
Okay. So to be clear, any traffic violation that does not fall under those primary violations, officers can still enforce those after a traffic stop for a primary violation has been initiated, or under other legal means that officers have in their toolbox, right? And I'll point you to, I would definitely look at the criminal procedure section that you pointed out, but in our memo we lay out this preemption issue specifically. So Texas Transportation Code section 542.201 authorizes local authorities to regulate traffic in a manner that does not conflict with subtitle C of the code, and then subtitle C 542.202A1 expressly permits a municipality to regulate traffic by police officers or traffic control devices. And so it's our reading that under this amendment, like all conduct that is unlawful will remain unlawful, and that it does not prohibit enforcement of any violation. It simply regulates the manners and means in which HPD can conduct traffic enforcement. And so that's the section that we've used to support our argument that this is legal. And then on the preemption issue a little further, I'll point you to City of Laredo versus Laredo Merchants, ASS-N. I can give you the citation later, but it's a Texas Supreme Court case where an ordinance was preempted. So in that case, Laredo, which is a home rule city, they had an ordinance that made it unlawful for businesses to provide single-use plastics or paper checkout bags. And so what the court held is that they held that the ordinance was unenforceable because the state Solid Waste Disposal Act preempted the ordinance by expressly stating, quote, an ordinance cannot prohibit or restrict the sale or use of a container or package. And so that's the type of clear and compelling language that we believe has to be in the statute for it to be preempted.
Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate that. But let me ask you, has there been any other city in Texas governed by state law that has done what you're asking us to do?
No, sir. We will be the first.
Okay. Well, again, I appreciate the effort you put into it, but I think the statute I've cited and the oath that our officers take prevent us from enacting what you proposed.
Yes, sir. I'll definitely consider that and then meet up with you later to talk it out. But thank you.
Councilmember Alcorn.
Thank you. And thanks for coming. I've got the dashboard pulled up on traffic stops, and it looks like since the beginning of 25 to now, 112,000 and change in these type of vehicle traffic violations, and about 3,500 arrests from those. And I guess if we track the types of arrests or the types of what we're on those things, that would be interesting to me. I don't know if we can track it that way, but that information, because obviously some of these traffic stops do yield an arrest, and we want to make sure we're getting unsafe people, off the streets and arrested. So just the type of violation would be interesting for me to know.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Pollard.
Thank you, Mayor. And Councilmember Ramirez, I too had similar thoughts based on the state statute that you referenced. And I think a question also needs to be explored and maybe you all can give us some clarity on it, is even within the state statute, when it says what an officer shall do, officers still have discretion, right? And so even when they sometimes, right now, pull people over, they have the discretion whether to cite them, whether to give them a warning, whether to, take it further through an investigation based on probable cause or whatever. And so the question becomes, what would be the legislative intent, right? And how far does that discretion go? And from a legal standpoint, as a home rule city, based on the case law that she's presented, does that still give us governing authority to be able to set parameters based on local dynamics? And I think that is a question that, if laid out from a legal standpoint, that you all can bring more clarity to, it would address, I think, his concern, and it would also be able to give us as a body, I think, more concrete examples of how we could legally put this forward for discussion before the body. And the discretionary argument for me is something that I don't think the legislature has bound officers to be able to strictly stand by with the word shall, because they still have the discretion as officers to be able to look at each situation on a case-by-case basis and then decide what they want to do. So if you can speak to the discretionary the authority that officers have when it comes to traffic stops, and why you believe that the ordinance language that you put before us would be meritorious against any conflict of interest argument related to state law.
Yeah, and I'll definitely look into the specific statute that you mentioned, Councilmember Ramirez, and look to see if any courts have interpreted what that actually means and whether the discretion piece comes in or not. I don't like speaking on stuff that I don't know just off the top of my head. I want to go and research it. So thank you for raising that. And yeah.
Councilmember Evans Shabazz.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you so much for presenting this to us. I guess, not being a legal mind, so to speak, professionally, I'll say that the way I'm looking at this, if we were able to pass an ordinance that amended the quota, then why is it this can't be construed in the same manner? Because if that's not a violation, then how is this a violation? And so I'm following your thought processes as well as your legal argument. And so I just like to know what would be the difference. And that may not be something that you can certainly answer, or maybe you've already answered it, because I don't see where an amendment stopping quotas, giving the discretion to stop the quotas, would be any different from an ordinance that would stop the non-safety traffic violations. So, again,
yes,
thank you. You don't necessarily have to answer that unless you want to have a few more minutes. But certainly, I'm just kind of perplexed as to how one can be construed in one manner and another one we're resistant to doing when both benefit the public.
Right. And you're right. The way that we construed that part of the ordinance was that, again, Houston as a home rule city, and under the ordinance itself, the city ordinances, they have the authority to pass those type of ordinances, like the traffic stop quota ordinance. And I think we cited directly to that in our memo, Article 7, Section 10 of the city charter is what we cited to. And so, yeah. I agree. Yes, ma'am.
Sure. Last thought on the discretion issue. So your proposed ordinance would entirely remove the officer's discretion to enforce their legally duty under state law, and that's where the issue is.
Yeah, so our position is that as a city, you have the authority to regulate the manner and the means in which traffic is enforced in your city. And so the discretion piece, that's something that we can definitely get into, but I think it goes back to officers have all types of tools in their toolbox. You can do, and as a civil rights attorney, I don't agree with most of the things, right? But wait until the person stops, gets out their car, do a Terry stop and frisk. Go, if you believe that you have enough evidence, go to a judge, get a judicial order, a judicial warrant, things like that. Officers have so many tools, right? And so our point is this, that you have to do a cost-benefit analysis when it comes to these pretextual stops. What is the cost to the community? We've heard it time and time again for the past 3 weeks. We've heard what the cost has been to the immigrant community, to the black community, to the brown community. And so, yeah, I think it boils down to that. Again, we're not trying to tie the hands of Houston police officers. We've met with HPOU multiple times. They are not budging, which we respect fully, but our position is that this is the type of policy that needs to be passed immediately, and now is the time to do it, and you have the authority to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Pollard.
Thank you, Mayor. And for my final take on this is to answer Councilmember Shabazz's point. So with the traffic quota argument, the state, there was nothing at the state level that spoke to quotas for traffic stops. So there was nothing that was in conflict. They did have under state law a quota, an elimination of quotas for traffic tickets. And so we were able to push that forward because it was silent at the state level. What Councilmember Ramirez has brought up and what others may bring up is if a proposal is put forward to disallow HPD officers from minor traffic stop engagement, will that be a direct violation or conflict with state law when officers are bound to do so with certain interpretation? I think there's no objection that this body, if something is silent at the state level, that we as a governing body can put forth a proposal or an amendment that changes the dynamics of certain departments, as long as we don't get into the day-to-day operations. But the question will remain when it pertains to this issue, is there a way that is not in conflict with the state law based on the provision that Councilmember Ramirez brought forth? If we can, or if you all can show that in a clear fashion, I think that would allow this body to explore this further, to push forward. Because what you have laid out, I think, is extremely strong. I think it hits all the points of the data and the state statutes and city charter that give us that authority. But it is that hurdle that he is referencing that you all will have to clearly bring to us, and or we work together with our law enforcement partners as well on understanding that dynamic. And so thank you for bringing this forward, and I look forward to hearing from the rest of the speakers.
And we'll definitely update our memo, and thank you, Councilmember Ramirez,
Thank you,
for keeping me on my toes.
Thank you. Next.
Selena Bray. To be followed by John Nix.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. I'm Selena Bray, a resident of District C and the policy organizer for Pure Justice, a local grassroots organization in the RISE Coalition. Thank you to my partners for laying out the data and the legal framework that has anchored our work on this for years, and thanks to Council Members Pollard and Thomas for their support. Again, in Houston, Black and Latino drivers are much more likely to be stopped for a reason with minimal correlation to road safety and have that stop morph into an excessively forceful interaction that has dangerous consequences for them, the involved officers, and all too often, the communities and families who are moved to act and support because that interaction has had a disastrous, avoidable outcome. Our conversations with Houstonians across neighborhoods continue to be consistent with these numbers. Stories of being pulled over and then roadside assaults. Memories of being pulled over 5 minutes away from home for an expired sticker, and then anxiety, flashing lights, and prayers for safety remembered 15 years later. People missing scholarship opportunities and graduations because of these stops, only to face long response times from HPD when it comes to urgent, violent crimes. As my colleague Kirsten suggests, we must do a cost-benefit analysis. For the costs, we're prioritizing a practice that's looping more people than ever into our extremely frayed criminal legal system and our overcrowded local jail facilities, while also creating economic burdens for drivers that aren't addressing the major causes of road fatalities. And for what benefit? Acquiring contraband less than 5% of the time, with even fewer arrests? It doesn't add up to us. I also urge all of you to acknowledge the human costs of these stops. I mentioned earlier how communities step in when lives are uprooted or tragically ended due to this sort of system involvement. Pure Justice was founded by Sasha Leggett and Roshan Evans to fight for answers after their loved one, Robert Stephen Jr., was found dead in the Harris County Jail hours after their arrest. Mayor Whitmire, you took meaningful action as a then senator in the Texas legislature to pass the Sandra Bland Act, a bill that diverted folks to mental health care and away from criminalization in the memory of a Black woman who was found dead in Waller County, Texas jail hours after being arrested during a non-safety traffic stop for failing to signal a lane change. Mayor Whitmire, thank you sincerely for your work to steward and pass that bill. It's necessary and vital, but it wouldn't have stopped the stop that led to Sandra Bland's untimely death. This ordinance would. It will prevent future cases like this, like hers, that we all know are so avoidable. Some may attempt to dismiss public statistics, HPD's own data, and even the lived experiences of Black and brown community members, such as yourselves across the city, by saying it's all in your heads. Perception has become your reality. But make no mistake, Mayor and City Council members, reality is reality. Thankfully, in this reality, this City Council has the power to take meaningful action, just like you, Mayor Whitmire, did with the Sandra Bland Act, just like Pure Justice has, and move towards this data-backed, community-oriented solution that will improve public safety for our city. We, the RISE Coalition, come as few today, but we stand with many Houstonians that believe in this policy, opportunities instead of punishment, and the idea that there's no time like the present to reimagine safety for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Kamen.
Thank you. I was going to give you a little extra time if you needed it, just as a District C resident, to wrap up, but it sounds like you did. I again want to thank Pure Justice, the RISE Coalition, for all the thoughtful work that it has gone into this, working with colleagues at the Horseshoe as we continue this discussion. This has been a very important conversation that we had today, and I hope that the conversation continues expeditiously.
Yes.
Thank you.
I agree. Thank you.
John Nix. To be followed by James McCord.
Howdy, Mayor Whitmire and fellow City Council. My name is John Nix, and I'm now District A resident, live over in Spring Branch, off Long Point and Bunker Hill area. Several things I want to talk about today. I want to see the city outlaw communal water heaters that are like shared among multiple units. I live in one, now moved into one, and it's like awful. Sometimes I don't even have hot water. That's a human right in my apartment complex. Or I may even have it for half a shower at where I live. Another issue too is the fight for more sidewalks. Even in Spring Branch, it's like very bad. And even the bus stop, if I'm going to catch the bus going towards Memorial City, it's like very, very narrow. Like this, and looking at Google Street View, it used to not even be that way, all the way that bad. I have to cross Bunker Hill and then cross Long Point twice just to get to the bus stop. That's very, very narrow to catch that 26 to going towards Memorial City. on that issue. So I'd really like to see that bus stop get done. To even work with Metro to have a more curb to curb for Spring Branch, since only the frequent services is that 26 that goes in through Long Point and that 46 that goes down Gessner. The other routes like the 72 Westview or the 58 Hammerley run every hour, through Spring Branch. There's really not a whole lot of frequent service on there. So I'd really like to see the city work to have more, bring like a curb-to-curb microtransit to Spring Branch, and to work with Metro to build like a Memorial City Transit Center right there on the northern part of the mall, right by I-10, to where people that are coming from there that can connect to the express buses that want to come downtown for that issues of there. And about that issues of issues right there. I do want to see more road diets in the Spring Branch area, like on my Long Point, on Gessner, and on Bingo Road as well. And other issues too, of course, like I said before, and many, many times, is to make the city hall more disability friendly. Make this area, this carpet here is awful. It's very hard to get around. And it can get difficult for me getting in city up here to maneuver around this room. I wish it would be like some sort of like funding, or some sort of generous large donor that would even be able to donate the money to be able to help get this done and make this area much more accessible for me, and make this area, the city hall and Spring Branch, more accessible for disabled folks like me. And that would be all I would have to say. And thanks so much. And God bless Texas, and go team, whatever team you're rooting for.
Thank you for being here. Next.
James McCord. Arturo Almanza. Crystal Rodriguez. Helen Landaverdi, to be followed by Latoya Jones-Shaw.
Council members, I am here to make 3 requests. My first request is for Mayor and the Council to reconsider the approval of Willow Parish final plat. My second request is to have an explanation from the Planning Director as well as the Legal Department regarding why the Texas Local Government Code Section 212.01018A is not applicable when reviewing plats. And 3 is to request a text amendment to tree preservation and to not allow dead-end streets in the single-family home developments. So my first request, I am requesting it pursuant to Section 33-22, number 4, which allows or gives power to the Planning Commission to approve plats, and it also says to report to the City Council. Now, they are tasked to implement Chapter 42 as well as statutes of the state. That's why I referenced that platting requirement from state local government. When I spoke against this plat at both of their meetings, they told me that was not applicable. Now, my experience, I am an experienced public servant. I've worked for public sector as a city planner in the state of Texas as well as in New Mexico. And in the state of Texas, we always look at that particular local section government code. I had requested from the legal department as well as the planning director what the appeal process would be, and she sent me a very brief email saying there is no appeal to the planning commission. It is a final decision, and if I wanted to take it, I would need to take it to court. I am coming here to request to reconsider that Willow Parish, look at it, and have an explanation as to why that Texas Local Government Code is not applicable before the neighbors of the subdivision Marbella pursue legal action for their final decision. And I did present them with several goals, strategies, as well as core strategies and action plans that have been adopted by the City of Houston General Plan, which was adopted in 2015, that I believe could better serve this subdivision that they're proposing to have, just revise the layout of the subdivision. Our concern is drainage. We do have a lot of drainage issues. They are proposing some reserves there, but I think some of those some of those locations could be better served for open space, maybe detention, keep some trees there so that it does not increase drainage problems in our subdivision. Public Works has reached out to us at that meeting saying we can make those complaints, and I have sent an email to I believe his name is John at Public Works, and I've also informed our neighbors that they should contact them in the future if they have drainage issues. But my main concern is platting. I do this for a living, so I don't understand why we're not applying, the city of Houston is not applying the goals and actions that were adopted.
Your time has expired.
I do have a petition. I don't know if I can submit that.
Latoya Jones-Shaw.
Next speaker.
Nicole Hilliard.
Nicole Hilliard. Next speaker.
Derek.
Is that Nicole? No. Next speaker.
Derek Shaw.
Derek Shaw.
To be followed by Daniel Graves.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, City Council members, and also Mayor Whitmire. My name is Derek Shaw, and I'm speaking today on behalf of Azezwa, an international young professionals volunteer organization dedicated to environmental protection, disaster relief, and building safer and healthier communities. Azezwa volunteers have been actively serving the greater Houston area through regular street cleanups, environmental awareness campaigns, and community engagement efforts. In just the first month of this year, our volunteers have already carried out 2 cleanup initiatives, removing litter from public roads, neighborhoods, and shared spaces, and will even carry out a 3rd cleanup on February 15th. Our volunteers are not only from Houston, but are from around the world too. And even here with me today are 5 Azezwa volunteers from South Korea that have actually traveled all the way from Houston to join us. I've traveled all the way to Houston to join us in our initiatives. We respectfully ask for the City of Houston to support the efforts we carry out through recognition, partnership, or collaboration to expand these initiatives. We would also be deeply honored to receive a city proclamation recognizing Azezwa's stewardship and dedication of our volunteers this year. Additionally, we request the opportunity for a meeting with you, Mayor Whitmire, to share more about our organization and to discuss future partnerships. We truly believe that when government and community organizations work together, meaningful and lasting change is possible. Thank you for your time, your leadership, and your commitment to Houston. We look forward to continuing to serve this great city and to build a cleaner and greener future. And lastly, we would like to say, 1, 2, 3, we love you, we love you, we love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for coming, and we do want to welcome our guests to the City of Houston that have come so far to be with us. We always say it that government cannot do this work alone. So we're very honored that you have taken the initiative to do those types of cleanups. Did you say where your cleanup was on February the 15th?
Yes, we will be carrying it out on West Hardy Street, so District B.
Whose district is that?
District Member Tarsha
Okay,
Jackson.
in District B?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what time will you be there?
So the cleanup will start at 12 p.m. It's from 12 to 2.
From 12 to 2?
Yes,
Well, thank you for taking the initiative to help us keep the city clean. It means a great deal to each of us that you would spend your time doing it, and we appreciate the work. I think that Rebecca maybe can help you with trying to schedule something with the mayor. I would also recommend that you would reach out to Councilmember Jackson's office, and they may be able to help put the event in their newsletter and maybe get some additional volunteers to come out on February 15th.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
All right. Best wishes to you.
Yeah.
Next speaker.
Daniel Graves.
Daniel Graves. Next speaker.
Donald Smither.
Donald Smither. Donald Smither. Next speaker.
Ryan Schornberg. To be followed by Terry Walter.
Hello, this is my first time ever coming up here. I'm furious, and I'm even more furious that half of y'all are not here. My name is Ryan Scharnberg. I'm here because the systems that you oversee have failed me. Every single time. I've for 8 months been dealing with this. I witnessed a murder October 23rd, 2024 that has not been investigated by HPD. Furthermore, I was beaten and pushed in front of a moving car at Griggs and MLK. I want those videos of the body cam. Body cams aren't going to do anything for this city until y'all actually make them show them. I have, see, and I'm going off script here. I have Attorney General's office. I have written emails to the John Whitmire's office. I have gone and I have dealt with this over and over again. Every single person, y'all pass the buck, pass the buck. I want answers. If it was a lawful arrest, why isn't transparency? Where's it at? And I am dealing with, as you can see, I'm dealing with violence at home as well. I live at Woodfair and Bissonnette. It is, and Mr. Pollard's not here, and it took me $300 to get up here today because after this, I'm going to Metrolift and seeing why I can't schedule a ride to get home. I can't schedule a ride to go to my daily doctor's appointments, to my physical therapy appointments. Why? I've been called a sir over and over and over again. I am a trans female, and I am sick and tired of being called sir on recorded lines. I spent 10 hours on the phone yesterday with Metrolift, and I still had to pay for an Uber ride to get up here. I am at my wit's end. I have a man next door to me that leaves his house in full body armor while he sells crack cocaine and has shot. I have 2 of his bullets on my patio. I am waiting for somebody to come, and the detectives to come and get these bullets off my patio. It's been 4 weeks now. I have witnessed him shoot at people. I have Ring doorbell camera footage that I have sent into your office. For what? I am angry. I called 911 and I'm a nuisance. When I have videos, I have tons of videos in my phone right now of all of these crimes that are being committed on a nightly basis out there, and nobody is doing anything. I am losing my voice every single day. I am sick and tired of this. I cannot use my hand because I was attacked as a witness of a crime and thrown in jail, and nobody has called me. I have submitted to the Attorney General about this murder. Her name was Kim, and she was mutilated and left at the corner of Calhoun and Yellowstone at 5 o'clock in the morning, October 23rd, 2024. And the person that was with me, whenever that happened, was run over 14 hours later a foot from that intersection. Just a couple feet from there. And I called. They picked her body up, but police never came. And I wandered around aimlessly for an hour and a half trying to, I was not in my right mind at that point. I was in a state of shock. And I get beaten up by an officer. The officer's first words were, "I'm going to fuck you up." That's what he told me. And I want. That was MLK and Griggs at the train station.
That was an HPD officer that said that.
That was a Metro police officer. But I have had HPD not do their job. I have videos of them not doing their job just this week, watching somebody with a gun come up to my apartment and say they were going to shoot me. And I pointed. That person is still over there. They didn't do anything. I have the police reports here. I have over and over and over and over again. I'm sick and tired of this. I will take action into my own hands, and I will go to jail for the rest of my life if y'all do not do something.
We definitely want to try to help you. We do have an HPD officer here that you can give that information to, and we'll try.
I have already done it. You can check your email.
I'll check my email. Okay.
Terry Walter.
Great chair to be in.
Coffee L. Bay. Art Smith. See Sandra Allen. To be followed by Bernadette Kiki.
Good evening. Happy New Year to all you city councilmen. Happy New Year, Mayor John Whitmire. How are you today, sir? Thank you, sir. So I'm here today to talk on kidnapping my son, on getting my son released, on the Sandra Bill Act, number 1849. I read your 55-page bill that you wrote, Mayor John Whitmire. And the Texas Senate Bill 1849, known as the Sandra Bland Act, was a 2017 law reforming Texas criminal justice system prompted by Sandra Bland's death, focusing on bail reform, jail society, mental health diversion, officer training, de-escalation, and body cams, racial profiling and data collection to improve police community interaction and jail conditions, requiring better standards for mental health care, independent jail death investigation. Sandra Bland Act, Senate Bill Act 85R 1849, mental health can be put you in an asylum. The government has given police power to take you to a mental institution. You can lose all your constitutional rights under the mental health. All you need is a judge and a doctor to sign off on it. Sandra Bland Act 1849 states blacks when compared to whites after they have been pulled over for a traffic violation. The committee found reasons to believe many other people are still being stopped for underlying pretexts, including consent and searches. The committee found that it would be beneficial to the public that all law enforcement would use de-escalation tactics in all interaction with the public. Texas law needs to be strengthened to ensure that it does not happen at DPS or any other law enforcement agency in Texas. My son, Nathan Emmanuel Allen, was admitted to the Harris County Psychiatric Ward, the Dunn Building, floor 3C, University of Texas Behavioral Science Building. The social worker is Edith Turner, Sylvester Turner's niece. Her phone number is 713-500-1848. Mayor John Whitmire, guest on the show Saturday, November the 15th, 2025.
Your time
you
has
were
expired.
on the Impact Houston Live 90.9 KTSU radio station. No Donald Franklin was present, only Chris Johnson and Marcus Session. And you, all three gentlemen, you stated, Mayor John Whitmire, I love people. I like people. To tell the truth. You stated, Mayor John Whitmire, I got robbed at gunpoint. Suspect was sentenced to 25 years and served only 12 years. So I'm asking you, you are a fine mayor, sir. I'm asking you under the Sandra Bland Act to release my son today because they're holding my son for this here bill right here given to me by Miss Valerie Millhead at 2525 Merber, Houston, Texas, 713-274-5364. A guardianship. I'm Nathan's mom. Without Nathan, Nathan wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for me. I carried Nathan 9 months in my stomach. That's my child. Okay, they're getting benefits on my son, on my husband's money, and I should be living on that, me and my son. Me and my son. So they take my son so they can live on Larry Lamont Allen's benefits. I'm a widow. My husband's death is coming up February the 12th. He died last year, February the 12th, 2025. His anniversary is coming up. I am a widow. Nobody feels sorry for me, okay? Charlie Kirk, Erica Kirk, they done raised $500 million. She's a billionaire. She don't have to work. She has 2 kids. Nobody feels sorry for me. I'm a widow. So this is what they say. We don't care if she was married to Larry Lamont Allen for 30 years. We want Larry's money. Larry got good money up there. So we're going to take Nathan and we're going to live on Larry Lamont Allen's Social Security because Nathan don't have a job. They say airship. It say right here, Nathan's estate. Nathan ain't never had no job. That's my husband's estate. Okay, I was married to Larry Lamont Allen for 30 years. I'm a widow. I buried my husband, okay? I don't know if you are a widow, Mayor John Whitmire, but I'm a widow. And I want y'all to release my son immediately. And they're getting money, and all the monies that they're getting off of my husband, I want all that be released back. because my son has missed his daddy's funeral. He has missed his graduation. And I tell you, I'm going through it. Okay? I carried Nathan. Without Nathan, they wouldn't even be getting no money. I carried Nathan in my stomach for 9 months. Without Nathan being here on earth, they wouldn't even have a Larry Lamont Allen's salary from his Social Security.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So, anybody have anything to say? And when can my son be released under this Sandra Bland Act? We were walking. This Sandra Bland Act states in a vehicle. We were not pulled over. We were walking, and they had body cams on. And I'm asking you to request that the body cam to look at that. My son, he ran. He came back, held my neck real tight, and I said, hold up. I said, I don't want them to kill us. I don't want them to shoot us. Don't run no more.
Okay. Let me tell you what we do. My staff's already checked on your son's status.
And I want to thank you for giving me an escort to see my son from the last visit that I had with you. I hadn't seen him since. And I don't know where my son is. I don't know if he's alive still. But his birthday is coming up on February the 7th. He's going to be 21. And I would like my son to be home for his 21st birthday. He's going to be 21 this week.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here. He's in the hospital getting the care that the doctor said he needs. So he's been well taken care of.
None of this is true on there. I had my son from birth to 19 years old. They took a full-grown young adult. A full-grown young adult. We were walking. This was not no traffic stop in the vehicle.
Okay,
we were walking. We had just got off the Metro bus.
We can't resolve that here today. But Ms. Williams has been monitoring your son's care, and he's getting the best care available in the hospital that you actually mentioned.
I need my son. I need to go see my son. Where I need to get visitation to see my son. I want to see my son for his birthday.
Okay, we'll communicate that for you. Okay, so
I'm not going to go away, Mary Whitmire.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go away. I can't rest. That's my child.
I understand.
That's my child. I gave birth to.
Okay. Well, let's finish up today. We've had a long day. We can't resolve it at this moment.
I understand, sir. I'm willing to work with you, Mayor. You're doing a fantastic job in Houston. I am willing to work with you, sir. And I have been patient.
No, you're a fine mother. Thank you. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
I appreciate you working with me.
Okay.
But I know Nathan is calling for mama, 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 mama. Okay. Where's my mama?
Okay, let's work together. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Let me call the next speaker.
Bernadette Kiki.
So when can I get a visitation for my son?
We're going to check the status right here before we go home.
Okay.
We'll work later.
I will make an appointment after I see him because we need to get my son home.
Okay.
He has a mother, which is me, Sandra Jean Allen. Right. He has a mother. I'm still alive.
Thank you. Be safe.
Thank you, sir. You got to stay. Let me read one thing before I leave. Proverbs 28:5 says, "Evil men do not understand justice. Evil men do not understand justice. But those who seek the Lord understand all." And I'm going to leave that, and I'm done.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Councilor and Mayor, for letting me speak to you.
You bet. Next.
Bernadette Kiki, to be followed by Jacob Newsom.
Praise the Lord. Ma'am, I truly feel for you as a mother. Blessed Your Excellency, Mayor John Whitmire, and the council members here present, I bring you greetings in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and blessed Savior. He has sent me to tell all Houstonians, the mayor, the blessed Mayor John Whitmire, all the council members, all of Texas, and in fact, all Americans, that He, Jehovah Yahweh, has sent His ancient mega prophets, the two living witnesses of the Bible, in the person of Prophet Dr. David Owo, to tell us all that the Lord Jesus Christ, our Lord and blessed Savior, who created each and every human being on earth, who died for us on the cross, is coming back. I repeat, the Lord Jesus Christ has sent me to announce to us that He is coming back. And I wrote here, this is very urgent and very critical that we as leaders listen. The data I bring to you is that Houston is listed as the number 2 most sinful city in America. Blessed John Whitmire, Your Excellency, Houston, that you are the mayor of, is listed as the 2nd most sinful city in the whole of America. And that brings a burden for me and you to ask, what do we do now?
Your time has expired.
1 minute, sir, please, if you allow me. I plead. What we will do now that I'm pleading is that since the Lord Jesus has said He's coming, we need to prepare as a city together. Houstonians are looking for leadership to bring them back closer to God so that all the problems we are hearing here will begin to disappear. And the mega Asian prophet is going from nation to nation. In this quarter alone, I've gone with to their mission in Finland. I have gone to Estonia. I have gone to Paris. So I am following, and I just came back from Kenya. And I'm following closely for all of us.
Okay, let me...
So that we all prepare.
Let me thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Blessed.
I need to call my next speaker.
Senior Mayor Whitmire, I need an appointment with you. That's one of my reasons for coming. I need to ask for an appointment to your office
I'm going to talk to my
bring
staff.
the data to you so that we can prepare, because this is the leadership we have upon us. The Lord Jesus is coming.
Thank you for being here.
Amen, sir. Thank you so much.
You've done a great job.
You're beloved, and this responsibility, Jesus gave it to you for a reason.
Thank you.
Plus for all of us. Thank you so much.
Be safe.
Blessed Mayor. Thank you so much.
Jacob Newsom.
Let's pray for our city.
To be followed by Eli Montoya Rivas.
I'm Mayor Whitmire and Council. I just felt
Can you step in front of one of the mics and pull it up?
that one. I'm Mayor Whitmire and Council. I just felt a need to name something. Usually I come here with a big grand speech, but I think it's pretty simple. That the story of a city is written by courage and not comfort. And we saw that with Keith Porter Sr. and in so many other meetings, that the reality is that people are scared, and we're looking for leaders that will listen to us and sit with us in the discomfort of everything that's going on. And so I felt like that was important to name, because we're looking for leaders that will build the story of Houston with us in the discomfort. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. So have a good day, Council.
Next.
Eli Montoya Rivas. To be followed by Michelle Eigenbohr.
Good afternoon, City Council members and Mayor Whitmire. Long time ago, I got fired from your campaign. I think we have been trying to be respectful to you and Guadalupe, Baldo, Steve Truver. The situation that we have with ICE is that we have communist people in the community who are violating our rights, are stealing our identities, are training us to kill us, to shoot us, to dismember us. And I understand you have sympathy for Hispanic people. That's one of your weaknesses that we have known that you have throughout the years. We ask you, you put me through hell, the Guadalupe family, to be able to become a U.S. citizen. I have 2 grandbabies, 2 daughters, and 2 son-in-laws, and I have a family.
Your time has
Please
expired.
cooperate with ICE, or they will kill us and steal our identities. Thank you.
Michelle Eigenbohr. I don't see. Jacob Clementich. To be followed by Joseph Amari.
Okay, call me a devil's advocate, but Minnesota has nothing on Ohio. You don't know why? Anyway, it's Aggie Joe time. How does a philosophy geography major at A&M call the writer of the Republic? Plateau.
Joseph Amari.
You know, I used to have driving my black problems in Houston, Texas. I got living at home problem by black in Houston, Texas now, and in Shreveport, Louisiana. All I know since military martial law, everywhere I go, I just get no. Have Black History Month. I always got, now I got somebody at my door, somebody on my cell phone and my computer trying to figure out where I'm home and where I go. And somebody keep messing up my door every time I put it on the flow. When it comes to my company, screenwriting and movie production company, my movies go for $3 million each. You can buy all the rights to every movie I got for $30 million, the whole catalog. My Sarah Porter Plantation movie is the best. It has the most box office potential, and even more box office potential than the movie that I really love, just living the movie. At the last city council meeting, I spoke about Houston, his construction boom economy, success and problem. No matter what happens, can I finish, please?
Your time has expired.
That ain't no 30 seconds. That ain't no minute. Somebody else minute. I know them last somebody else. Why these minutes always last longer than mine? Give me just 30 seconds. Let me finish. Go give me 30 seconds. I'll be finished. Okay. I don't know what I'm saying is just so controversial. It ain't that controversial. Okay. Like I said, no matter what happens, deportation process, Black Americans want the whole family to be able to get back home safely as a part of the diplomatic process. What Black Americans want to propose is that we have luxury cruise ship that allow us to travel from each country, and we'll be able to go from and back from each country of America, Mexico, Central America, South America, Africa, England, and other nations, taking us from and getting us back home in style and having a whole lot of fun without getting stuck in the land of Oz and Wonderland. We also oppose having a 5-year work visa and green card immigrant worker sponsorship program.
Thank you, sir. Anything else? We stand recess. 9 in the morning.
(2026). Item 1, recommendation from the Director of Houston Public Works that Houston City Council accept the work and authorize final payment, if any, of the contract with Grava LLC. Item 2, recommendation from the Director of Houston Public Works that Houston City Council accept the work and authorize final payment, if any, of the contract with Industrial Texas Corporation. Item 4, recommendation from Director of Houston Public Works that Houston City Council accept the work and authorize final payment, if any, of the contract with Industrial Texas Corporation. Item 4, recommendation from the Director of Houston Public Works that Houston City Council accept the work and authorize final payment, if any, of the contract with Markel Insurance Company. Item 5, approve spending authority for purchase of a campaign finance management tool awarded to RFD and Associates, Inc. Item 6, approve spending authority for sole source purchase of a subscription, maintenance, support, and services for an investigative lead generation and data analysis platform awarded to Sound Thinking, Inc. Item 7, approve spending authority for purchase of recreational, educational, and miscellaneous supplies awarded to SNS Worldwide, Inc. Item 8, Environmental Improvement, Inc. for 4 polymer activation and feed skid systems. Item 9, Hahn Equipment Company, Inc. for flight dry pit submersible pumps and installation services. Item 10, approve spending authority for parking management services awarded to Metropolis, Inc. Item 11, approve spending authority for procurement project augmentation services awarded to Periscope Holdings, Inc. Item 12 has been pulled by the administration and will not be considered. Item 13, ordinance approved and authorizing telecommunications equipment lease between the City of Houston and New Singular Wireless PCS LLC. Item 14, ordinance approved and authorizing agreement between the City of Houston and Harris County. Item 15, ordinance appropriating $842,000, approving and authorizing Second Amendment to construction manager at risk contract with Anslow Bryant Construction Ltd. Item 16, ordinance authorizing and approving form of master contractor agreement for City of Houston 2021 Winter Storm Single Family Home Repair Program to be executed by the City of Houston and Architectural Development, Inc., Brizo Construction, LLC, Ducky Recovery, LLC, James W. Turner Construction Limited, RM Quality Construction, LLC, and SLSCO Limited. Item 17, ordinance amending ordinance number 2021-221 related to contract with Ingram Library Services, LLC. Item 18, ordinance relating to fiscal affairs of South Post Oak Redevelopment Authority on behalf of Reinvestment Zone number 9, approving fiscal year 2026 operating budget for the authority and fiscal years 2026 through 2030 capital improvements projects budget for the zone. Item 19, ordinance relating to fiscal affairs of Uptown Development Authority on behalf of Reinvestment Zone number 16, approving fiscal year 2026 operating budget for the authority and the fiscal years 2026 through 2030 capital improvement projects budget for the zone. Item 20, ordinance relating to fiscal affairs of Leland Woods Redevelopment Authority on behalf of Reinvestment Zone number 22, approving fiscal year 2026 operating budget for the authority and the fiscal years 2026 through 2030 capital improvement plan budget for the zone. Item 21, ordinance finding and determining public convenience and necessity for the acquisition of real property interest in connection with the public improvement project known as the Lift Station Rehabilitation and Reconstruction Design. Item 22, ordinance appropriating $1,155,378.22, approving and authorizing First Amendment to professional engineering services contract between the City of Houston and Consor Engineers, LLC. Item 23, ordinance amending ordinance number 2023-118, related to contract with Professional Traffic Control, LLC. Item 24, ordinance appropriating $46,417,000 for the Trinity River Conveyance Project operated by Coastal Water Authority Projects. This completes the reading of the captions for the agenda of February 4th, 2026. Stay tuned for the next City Council session to begin at 9 a.m. And with that, I wish everyone a blessed and happy Hump Day.
Order. We'll start with our monthly financial report and recognize the City Controller and Finance Director Dabowski.
Okay. Okay. Good morning. This is the 6+6 financial report for the period ending December 31st, 2025. Fiscal year 26 projections are based on 6 months of actual results and 6 months of projections. For the general fund, our revenue projection is $41.9 million lower than the adopted budget and remains unchanged from the prior month. For sales tax, we're not making any changes this month, but we continue to monitor our sales tax receipts. For the month of November, collections were $70.8 million, which is about 0.28% lower than the same period last year. In order to meet the current estimate of $902 million, the remaining periods would need to come in 4% below the prior year. So we feel our projection by the Finance Department at this point is still fairly conservative. On the expenditure side, the projection is $9.5 million higher than the adopted budget and remains unchanged from the prior month. Together with the revenues, we're projecting the ending fund balance to be $353.5 million, which remains unchanged from the prior month and represents 13.9% of estimated expenditures, not including debt service and pay-as-you-go. That fund balance is $162 million above the target of holding 7.5% of expenditures, not including debt service and pay-as-you-go. For the enterprise, special revenue, and other funds, we're projecting the following forecast changes. In aviation, operating expenses increased by $1 million due to higher construction site work services for airport projects. And as a result, operating transfers will decrease by $1 million. For the combined utility system, operating expenditures decreased by $6.9 million, mainly due to personnel savings, and operating transfers decreased by $15.6 million due to lower than anticipated debt payments and lower transfer to capital projects. In the DDSRF ad valorem fund, revenue increased by $3 million due to higher than anticipated interest on pooled investments, and expenditures decreased by $5 million due to delays in vehicle purchases. In the DDSRF drainage fund, revenue increased by $4 million due to higher than anticipated interest on pooled investments. In DDSRF Metro fund, expenditure decreased by $4 million due to personnel savings. For the Stormwater Fund, expenditure decreased by $7 million due to personnel savings and delays in vehicle purchases. However, operating transfers out decreased by $4.8 million due to a lower transfer for the Building Inspection Special Fund. And the Building Inspection Fund revenue decreased by $4.5 million due to less funding needed from the Stormwater Fund, and expenditures decreased by $3 million to reflect personnel savings. Since it's a quarterly report, I'll give an update on the Houston economy. For the employment, the Bureau of Labor Statistics preliminary total non-farm employment for the Houston, Woodland, Sugarland metropolitan area stands at approximately 3.49 million in November of 2025, which is an increase by approximately 0.3% compared to the prior month. And compared to the same period last year, the employment is also up by 0.5%. The unemployment rate for the month of November is about 4.5%, which is relatively flat to the same period last year. For the energy sector, the average oil price is $57.97 for the month of December and is about 3.5% lower than the prior month. For home sales, the latest report prepared by the Houston Association of Realtors for the month of December shows the total single-family home sales was 2.8% higher compared to December of the previous year. And our disaster report you see contained in our printed report. Just to touch on our committee meeting yesterday at the Budget and Fiscal Affairs Committee, which was a joint committee, we had a fairly long agenda where we covered quite a few topics, including the category management program, an overtime update, which is a quarterly update that we're going to be giving every quarter. And we also covered some other topics related to the Parks Department and the Solid Waste Department. So it was a fairly long agenda yesterday, but we had a lot of good discussion. And just on the overtime topic, really we're trending to be for the Fire Department and the Solid Waste Department on par with where we were in the previous fiscal year. And for the Police Department, trending below where our actuals ended up last year for the Police Department. Obviously, overtime is highly dependent on a lot of different events, disasters. We had a lot of talk about disasters and events yesterday. And so we'll continue to monitor that trend and update this body on a quarterly basis. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Chris, Mr. Controller.
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, Mayor. Honorable members of council. I see a couple of empty chairs. I hope council members aren't caught in the same traffic on Memorial that Councilmember Peck and I were this morning. But Director Dubowski, thank you for going ahead of me this morning. Mayor, Council, I'm here today to present the monthly financial report for the month ending December 31st, 2025. The Controller's Office is projecting an ending fund balance of $336 million, or 13.2% of expenditures less debt service and pay-as-you-go for fiscal year 2026. This is $17.5 million lower than the projection of the Finance Department, with the difference being due to a lower revenue projection than Finance. Based on our current projections, the fund balance will be approximately $144.8 million above the city's target of holding 7.5% of total expenditures, excluding debt service and pay-as-you-go in reserve. Our revenue and expenditure projections remain unchanged from the November 2025 report for our general fund. For our enterprise funds, and starting with the Aviation Operating Fund, expenses increased by $1 million, primarily due to consulting services with the FAA, supporting grant-eligible airfield projects at the Houston Airport System. Additionally, operating transfers to the Airport Improvement Fund decreased by $1 million. Shifting now to our utility operations, within the Combined Utility System Fund, expenses decreased by $6.9 million, mainly due to personnel savings. Operating transfers also decreased by $15.6 million, driven by lower than anticipated debt payments and reduced transfers to capital projects. For our dedicated drainage and street renewal funds, within ad valorem, revenues increased by $3 million, largely due to higher interest income. Expenditures decreased by $5.2 million, primarily due to delays in vehicle purchases. Within the drainage charge fund, revenues increased by $4 million, also reflecting higher interest income. Within Metro et al., expenditures decreased by $3.9 million, driven by personnel savings. And within the Stormwater Fund, expenditures decreased by $12 million due to personnel savings, delays in vehicle purchases, and reduced transfers needed for the Building Inspection Special Fund. For our commercial paper and bonds, the city's practice has been to maintain no more than 20% of the total outstanding debt for each type of debt in a variable rate structure, which is in line with ratings agency guidance of no more than 25%. From time to time, the city's enterprise credits have exceeded this threshold on an interim basis, as they have undertaken large capital improvement projects or major expansions. As of December 31st, 2025, the ratio of unhedged variable rate debt for convention and entertainment was 48.08% due to the ongoing George R. Brown expansion. The ratio of unhedged variable rate debt for each other type of debt remains well below that 20% threshold. Now to our quarterly investment report. As of December 31st, 2025, the city had $6.5 billion invested in our general investment pool. The character of this pool is that of a short-term bond fund that holds investments of very high credit quality. Our investment strategy is to match assets and liabilities for a time period of 1 year into the future and to exercise discretion for the balance of remaining funds. Investments are $1.1 billion higher than this period last year. That's primarily attributable to new bond transactions in aviation, as well as the combined utility system. As of December 31st, 2025, the general investment pool was yielding 4%. In addition to the general investment pool, we have two small investment pools that total about $15 million. Those pools exist to comply with tax requirements of the federal government. A detailed listing of all the securities owned by the city appears at the back of your investments report. The city, along with our investment report, we've included the quarterly swap report as is required by the city's policy. The written swap report offers a comprehensive description of our two swap positions. The city had a net paid for the 6 months ending December 31st, 2025 from its swaps of $1.35 million. Fair value for both swaps as of December 31st, 2025 was negative $52 million, which is approximately $17 million greater than the prior quarter when it was at negative $69 million. The city swaps are fairly complex, and if you have questions regarding that report, please contact my office. Mayors, members of council, I'm joined today by Miss Allison Cranbull, who's a junior at Heights High School. Later this month, we'll also have a junior from Sharpstown High School, Navir Graham, who will join us, and both of them are our controllers for a day for spring 2026. As you all know, the Controller for a Day program was designed to give young people firsthand exposure to public service, civic leadership, and financial accountability in civic government. Allison and Navir were selected through an essay competition where they each expounded on the importance of fiscal responsibility in government, which is something I definitely was not thinking about as a junior in high school. Allison, hey. Would you like to say a few words?
Yes. Hello, my name is Allison Cranbull from Heights High School, and I'm the Houston City Controller for the day. In my winning essay, I wrote about how fiscal responsibility and public trust go hand in hand, and I compared that relationship to a plant. I believe that fiscal responsibility is the work you put in for the plant to grow, like planning, budgeting, and making careful decisions. Then public trust is what grows from that effort. Today, I plan to continue to grow my understanding of the Office of the Controller and use my time to learn about city government. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Allison. We're really honored to have her with us today and look forward to welcoming Navir later this month. Mayor and Council, I'd also like to quickly remind you of our Black History program coming up February 19th in the Legacy Room. Each of you should have received a personal invitation, and we're really excited. We're going to be honoring some legends this year. First off, Yolanda Adams, renowned gospel artist, also Rice University President Reginald DeRoche, Houston Texans head coach D'Amico Ryans, as well as his wife Jamila Ryans, who together they're the founders of the Ryan Family Foundation, and then also United Airlines pilots Jamil and Jalal Paul. Finally, we'll also pay tribute to the life and legacy of the Honorable Sylvester Turner with the posthumous Legacy Award. And so we hope to see you all there on the morning of February 19th. Over the last month, events in Minnesota have shown us the dangerous consequences of an overly militarized approach to immigration enforcement. The names Renee Good, Alex Peretti, and 5-year-old Liam Ramos are now known nationally for all the wrong reasons. And sadly, these are not isolated incidents. When enforcement is driven by ideology instead of sound judgment, families are torn apart, communities are destabilized, local businesses and regional economies suffer, and trust in government erodes. Across the state of Texas, we're already seeing the economic consequences. Just last month, a concrete company in South Texas was forced to file for bankruptcy after federal immigration raids disrupted its workforce and created acute labor shortages. Houston is also not immune. Local restaurants have been impacted and had their operations disrupted. Construction projects are being delayed, and uncertainty about market conditions has kept some developments from moving forward altogether. In a city where 1 in 4 residents is an immigrant, cooperating with ICE beyond what the law requires does not make our city safer or stronger. It fuels fear, it weakens community trust, it undermines public safety, and it strains our local economy. Now, we know that these national choices are being made far outside of this city hall, but the consequences do land right here in Houston neighborhoods, in our workforce, and on our balance sheet. And that brings me to the fiscal responsibility that is within our control. Overtime is often necessary, but when it goes unmanaged or underestimated, it becomes a structural budget problem with lasting consequences that weaken Houston's long-term financial stability. Yesterday, my office shared insights about the city's overtime trends and costs with the Budget and Fiscal Affairs Committee. In short, the city is dramatically over budget in its overtime spending, with police, fire, and solid waste as the major contributors. Solid waste is projected to be 70% over budget, while police and fire are projected to be 89% and 87% over budget, respectively. Together, these three departments are projected to come in more than $54 million over budget in their overtime spending. This predicament was entirely foreseeable. Last spring, we reported to you that those three departments were on pace to go over budget by $70 million. Our projections at that time turned out to be 99.6% accurate. And it was clear at that time, and we shared with you at that time, that there were only two reasonable options. Either work to control overtime or acknowledge the necessity of that overtime and budget for that necessity. As we moved through budget seasons, we came back to you once again, and we advised you in our 10 hard truths document, verbatim, that the fiscal year 2026 budget repeated last year's overtime miscalculation, and it was likely to lead to another massive overage. That was hard truth number 6 in that document if you're searching for it. But instead of increasing the overtime budget, you reduced it. So here we are again, with a deficit that started at $76 million and ballooned to $127 million with your property tax decision, which was also entirely foreseeable and described in hard truth number 2 during last year's budget season. We're now looking at draining our fund balance an additional $50+ million because we'd rather ignore basic facts than make hard decisions. I'm stressing the point of predictability because for 2 of these 3 departments, police and solid waste, overtime is trending very close to what you would expect based on the last 5 years. HPD is projected at $28 million of general fund overtime with a 5-year average of $29.5 million. It's right where you might expect it to be. Solid waste is projected at $6.9 million with a 5-year average of $7 million. It's right where you would expect it to be. And so these numbers are not shocking. The outlier here is fire. The fire department's overtime is projected at $82 million, which is nearly 40% higher than the 5-year average. In fact, the 2 years since the new fire contract was signed have seen the most overtime in the city's history. I'll repeat today what I told you last year. Either overtime is excessive and must be brought under control, or this overtime reflects the true cost of the current contract and must be budgeted honestly. Pretending that it's neither is how a budget fails a basic test of credibility, which the fiscal year 2026 budget has now done on several accounts. That's not a good thing. At a time when the majority of ratings agencies have Houston on a negative outlook, it undermines confidence in our fiscal planning and management. And it's not good for Houstonians who can't be expected to trust what the city tells them, if in critical instances, what we tell them turns out to be fiction. Fiscal responsibility ultimately comes down to credibility, credible assumptions, credible budgets, credible leadership. And until overtime is either controlled or honestly accounted for, then Houston will continue paying the price for plans that don't line up with reality. Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Chairman Pollard.
Thank you, Mayor, and good morning to everyone. Thank you both for your reports. The controller kind of highlighted some of the things, Director, that I was going to speak to specifically with overtime. To my recollection, we budgeted less overtime dollars for HPD in this current budget than we did the previous fiscal year, even though they went way over their budgeted amount. Is that accurate?
So when we did the budget for FY26, the budget for overtime is approximately on level with the adopted budget for fiscal year 25. It's true that the FY26 adopted budget is below where the FY25 actuals ended up being for overtime specifically. When we talk about the budget, and I know you and I had some conversation at the time of the budget last spring, we also look at the entire budget of the department. So, for example, in the police department, last year in fiscal year 25, even though their overtime budget exceeded their adopted budget for overtime, they had savings in other areas. Base pay savings, non-personnel savings that offset the majority of the overtime savings. And so when we set the budget, although you have to look at each line item, we also look at the department as a whole. So we don't want to over budget for a department. I hate to say if you over budget, they'll spend it all, right? But we look at the totality of the department when we budget. And so as we see where we have savings in some of those areas to offset that overtime, that's something we focus on. I completely hear the controller's point on the fire department, and the solid waste department has less savings to offset. A lot of that this year is due to the success that the departments have had in the recruitment and the retention, which was something that each of those chiefs and department director highlighted in the committee presentation yesterday. So as we move towards the end of the fiscal year, we will have to assess how much savings we have in those other areas to offset the overtime.
And I think we need to look at it even before then. Now we have to see what these projections are and where the trends are and start to possibly put caps on the amount of overtime that is offered based on necessity. Because as you mentioned, if we budget a lot for overtime, many times that pot of money is there and people are incentivized to try to work as much as possible to earn more pay. But when we don't budget properly, and we don't hit those marks, then we have to find a way to fill in the gap. And then if we don't, then our deficit grows. So,
well, just on the point of the deficit growing, one thing that the major metric that the rating agencies look at, like the controller mentioned, is how our fund balance is. And when we, focusing on fiscal year 25, there was more overtime than we budgeted for. But the overall fiscal year 25 budget, when we adopted the budget, the fund balance was at 10%. We ended the year, even with all that additional overtime, we ended the year at 14% fund balance. So an improvement of 40%. And so that speaks to, yes, there is overtime above budget, but there are savings in other areas coupled together with, on the revenue side, we typically, and you see in the sales tax, we typically budget fairly conservatively in our revenue areas to make sure that we have enough cushion for some of these impacts as we go through the year.
Understood, and I think that's great that it happened that way, but there could be scenarios where it doesn't, and then the city is not in a financial strong position as it ended up being after the last budget year, based on some of those things that happened towards the end that we were able to find some cost savings. So when you're budgeting from the outset, you can't really rely on some of these scenarios that may or may not happen. I can tell you from my office's standpoint, as I mentioned many times before, as it relates to overtime with HPD, my office is even getting blocked from even providing overtime dollars. So while we're putting a strain on the overall general fund for overtime dollars in J City, when we have dollars to spend that are allocated, that are budgeted for overtime pay, this administration has chosen not to even accept those dollars. And that's fiscal mismanagement. And I think we have to be able to look at all sources of funding and all sources of dollars that could be put forth towards overtime that our council offices have to offset some of these general fund costs.
And I would like to understand a little bit more because Councilmember Thomas had some questions for Chief Harden yesterday at the committee meeting regarding that. And so I definitely would like to get a better understanding of that because Chief Harden yesterday, and I don't want to speak for you, Councilmember Thomas, but I feel what Chief Harden yesterday relayed to the council member is that, of course, we will need to work with the individual council members on those needs for those areas. So I'm never going to say no to using your council district service money for something we need.
My constituents would like to see the money be allocated for additional presence due to overtime. So I'd love to speak with you about it.
Thank you.
Councilman Kamen.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning. Director, I know we say, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday, we're seeing savings in other places. Sometimes, though, savings means cuts. Sometimes savings means efficiencies. So are we able to get a better description on where we are seeing those savings? And it doesn't have to be today, but again, I want to, we say we're saving more to offset, but what is that? What is the impact of that department in terms of other services that we're providing? Second, because we had such limited time yesterday, we touched on it, but it's my understanding we talked about Winter Storm Enzo was not a federally or state declared disaster. So the city itself incurred those costs. We then had the freeze 2 weekends ago, and rightfully so, Houston stepped up in true form. Right, we stood up the warming centers. We deployed additional resources. It is a massive undertaking that I don't think people realize how much goes into that, how much personnel, how much overtime. What was the cost? Do we know yet the cost of last weekend? And then we also had to do it this past weekend. Again, I'm not saying we shouldn't do that, but there's a cost associated, especially when we're not getting reimbursed for it.
So the cost, we're on a little bit of a lag because of when payroll runs, right? For overtime and some of those things, the way we track them. But in general, for the warming centers, it's about $1 million for every day that we have the warming centers open. At least that's our experience from the previous year. Now, last year in fiscal year 25, again, like I mentioned, when we proposed the 25 budget, we were at 10% fund balance. We ended at 14% fund balance, and those costs were absorbed within the department's budgets. Because of other savings. And to touch on your point where the other savings comes from, predominantly it's vacancy savings for positions that are not filled, where each department director is looking through, what they need to provide the services in their department. And you'll see a lot of that reflected. I know I talk a lot about general appropriations is coming. That's in April, and that's where we really true up the estimates to the budget.
Right. Going back to the $1 million a day estimate, is that inclusive of additional departments' needs, like, there's the warming center costs, but there's other costs affiliated with severe weather, right, and deployment, additional road treatments, whatever that is. Is that an all-encompassing $1 million to the city?
We can get you the details on it.
Okay. Yeah. I would appreciate that because I bring it up. Again, we've had voted out of unanimously BFA the budget amendment from 8 months ago related to the budget stabilization fund and increasing that amount. We had a commitment that we would be increasing that amount, but we haven't seen that item come up. So I want to keep pushing because, again, we're seeing more and more extreme weather events related to climate change. But we cannot rely on state and federal reimbursement. And we need to be planning for that. So I really want to, do you have an update on when we'll see that item?
So the items that came out of that committee meeting, your item was part of it. There were some other items on the CIP, so it definitely requires collaboration with some of the other departments. So we're meeting internally to talk about, when we can bring it forward for the next steps. But the budget amendment specifically on the $25 million, the 1% or $20 million going to 1% or $25 million, that's absolutely something we're supportive of. The 365-day time period to refill the budget stabilization fund is one that I know we talked a lot during the budget time, but that's one where we do see challenges with that, where if we don't get federal reimbursement timely to refill the stabilization fund, it will have to come from the general fund balance. So it's really kind of, moving money from one pocket to another, for lack of a better word.
And I know we don't necessarily see eye to eye on that, but I think it deserves that conversation around the horseshoe and the item being brought up.
Thank you.
So, thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you. Councilman Flickinger.
Just want to make sure I understand the conversation correctly that occurred a few minutes ago. I mean, basically you're saying the bond rating agencies are not going to look at the individual geocodes to see whether there's discrepancy in budget versus actual, and what they're really going to look at is the fund balance at the end of the year?
They follow the MOFAR report. They look at the ACFR. I've never had a question about which GL line tallied to what.
Thank you.
Just to
Councilmember Alcorn.
Sorry, Mayor. Councilmember Flickinger, and I think this speaks to something that you asked as well, Councilmember Kamen. Fund balance did not go up last year, to be clear. I think what Director Dabowski was describing was projections about the fund balance. And so what was projected was a very large deficit. What we got was still a very large deficit, the largest in Houston's history, but it was smaller than what was originally projected. And so as ratings agencies are looking at that, what they're seeing is the largest deficit in Houston's history.
Councilman Alcorn.
Thank you. And I think the discussion on overtime has been good because I heard some good things come from the department directors yesterday about they're really focused on it now. Police, I really liked what he had to say about what Chief Harden was saying about during these disasters, we're looking at on-duty, officers. We're trying to really strategically put on-duty people so you don't have to use more overtime. And they are tracking under what they've been doing in the past. So I think people are being more strategic in the departments. Chief Munoz talked about, in each of the presentations, as you mentioned, Director Dabowski, there was a attrition and hiring, and we're finally not underwater there anymore. So we're having more people out, which should help with overtime also. And Chief Munoz was able to talk about how now there still is high overtime because now people are going to training, we're getting more paramedics, things that we needed to do. Also, I heard Director Hassan talk about things he's doing, looking at it. And while the numbers are still above what we had adopted in the budget, and I think we all understood that was going to be fluctuating due to circumstances, I also felt like there was some good news coming out of how they're looking at deploying their FTEs. Also some good news in, I think that Chief Harden or maybe you, Melissa, said civilian savings is going to help some in HPD to cover that cost. I agree on the sales tax. We way under, like we may under budget overtime, we under budget sales tax revenue. So I think we're going to be the way I see it, it looks like we're going to be okay. But I like the attention that the directors are giving into not just anybody who wants overtime can work overtime. I mean that seems to be not a thing anymore. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. There's a lot of good news coming out of our directors, and they're being very strategic. And if you look at the three departments that are requiring overtime, police, fire, and solid waste, I think that's where Houstonians expect us to provide those services. And as Councilman Kamen mentioned, the two warming centers brought about additional expenses. We had 2 police officers at each of the 12 warming centers, plus 2 medical assistants from the fire department. So, some people may choose to attack those services and those personnel, but we know what we're doing, and there's a lot of good news coming out of each of the departments, and we will have a balanced budget without raising taxes this spring. So thank you for everyone's participation. Councilmember Pollard.
Thank you, Mayor. I still believe we have a spending problem here. I feel like we spend more than we bring in. And now when we talk about overtime in the amount of overtime that is going over budget, plus, the $53 million that we had to absorb based on the tax rate that was different than what we budgeted for in the budget. When you put forth your 5-year forecast, you had like a baseline, an optimistic, and a pessimistic. Based on these changes just for this fiscal year alone, are we on baseline still? Or are we at an optimistic, pessimistic? Like, where are we trending for this 5-year forecast? Because each year you give an estimate of where we may be. So is this making things worse? Or is this baseline? I can't see how it's optimistic.
No, I would say that we're still at the baseline. And you're right, and the controller is correct that we didn't have a surplus budget in fiscal year 25, right? We drew less from the fund balance than we were planning to at the time of the budget. And this is, I feel like I sound like a broken record, but this is the story that we've had for as long as any of us can remember, right? That we have had a structural deficit. A lot of things have happened, right? We've made a lot of progress. We had the pension reform, back in 2017. That has saved us hundreds of millions of dollars a year in the general fund that we would have otherwise had to put towards it. We had the OPEB reform. That's also bringing down our long-term liabilities and allowing us to save for the future. This year with the Ernst & Young study, the way we proposed the budget, we for the first time in the recent past have seen a year-over-year decrease in the expenditure budget versus talking about how much are we going to increase the budget by. So we completely agree with you that we have a spending problem, right? That's why we engaged Ernst & Young. That's why we're looking for the efficiencies. That's why we did the retirement incentive program, the consolidation, having each department look at their org chart, their span of control. And so over the last year, we've made a lot of progress, right? It's not perfect, right? But we're a lot farther along than where we were a year ago. And so we're going to continue to work.
So when the controller mentions that over the past 2 years we've had the largest deficits, well, okay, where will we be where are we on trend to be this year? Are we on trend to be one of the largest deficits in the city's history? You've already mentioned that based on where we are currently, your 5-year forecast is still on the baseline projection,
right,
which would put us at almost $500 million in 2030. That's what your chart showed, right? So that's going in the wrong direction. So the question would bear to ask, what do we need to do to go in the optimistic direction that we're not doing now?
We're going to continue on with a lot of the things that we discovered through the Ernst & Young study. The consolidations, right, are ongoing. We also had the category management initiative. That's one that is in this budget, and we had an update from the chief procurement officer yesterday at the committee meeting to talk about how that process is going. But that's a multi-year effort, right? That's going to allow us to have savings on contracts citywide. It's going to impact the general fund, but other funds as well. So that's something we need to continue on to try to, get the same services, but hopefully negotiate better pricing with our outside partners. So definitely see, continuing on with that. And that's going to be a major initiative.
It just seems like these big $53 million hits are going to add up to start pushing us to the pessimistic line.
Where we're going to end fiscal year 26 is right on par with where we ended 25 as far as our percent of fund balance. We ended 25 with a 14% fund balance. Right now we're projecting to end 26 with a 14% fund balance. Yes, we're going to increase our estimate for overtime, but we're going to have other savings in other areas. And together with what Councilmember Alcorn mentioned, looking to increase our projection on our revenues in the coming months.
So that's why you say it's safe to say we'll stay at the baseline.
Kind of the baseline,
right,
yes,
thank
sir.
you.
Member Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor. And Director, I just want to say it's okay to be a broken record because unfortunately, and I think at the end of the day, we need to continue to highlight what's been done. We've known, and I go to civic clubs, I started my civic club tour this week. On average, $150 million was the case for the 10 years prior. Yes, it's a bit higher now. but we are consolidating, different divisions, whether it's HR, whether it's procurement, and now we're looking at contract negotiations. We're moving in the right direction, and I think this doom and gloom of, the sky is falling. The sky's been where it's at for the last 10 years already, at least, minimum. And I feel hopeful that as we continue to exhaust all options, I still want to keep pressing on where the revenues are going to come. And I've been speaking to a trash fee. We definitely need to take a look at the revenue cap as well. And these are tough decisions. But at the same time, I also want to make sure that we're not putting out this rhetoric that, we're at a place that we've never been before. There's folks around this horseshoe that have been dealing with the deficit for 4 years when they were in office already. So I appreciate the conversation that we had yesterday. I appreciate the departments looking at how they address overtime. HPD is doing a heck of a job. I want to commend them for doing what they're doing with the resources that they have. We also need to look at some policies when it comes to HFD as well, for sure. And to know, and I think Houstonians need to know, when we open up a warming center, $1 million, that's something that we're not thinking about trying to open up, but we need to ensure that Houstonians are safe. And so I just want to say I appreciate the conversation that we had yesterday, even the one that we're having around the horseshoe now. But these tough decisions ultimately need to be made. But we are moving in the right direction when we start looking at operation, right-sizing departments, ultimately. And so continue to be a broken record. I'm okay with it. I think everybody needs to hear about it as well, all of Houstonians.
Anyone else?
Martinez, the facts are that these 2 fiscal years have the highest
That's understood, and I
drawdown
think
of the fund
that's understood,
balance
Controller, and I
in
get
the
that.
history of the city
And
of
I've heard you
Houston.
say that as well. I get it, but we also need to make sure that we talk about what we're doing as well, and what we're doing to consolidate, what we're doing that works. And I would hope that you would also be on board to highlight those wins as well. Thank you.
Or come up with a plan. Councilmember Ramirez.
Mayor, as I have
please
multiple
wait
times.
and let me call. We have business to conduct. Councilman Ramirez.
Mayor, you made a comment towards me. I'm going to respond to that.
No, I have not made a comment towards you. I'm saying, as we go forward, we need to have a plan. Councilman Ramirez.
I agree with you, and I stand ready to work with you and your team to develop that plan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. My takeaway from yesterday was overtime costs continue to be at a level none of us want to see. Obviously, public safety is priority number one, and we need to take care of that function. The last 2 years we passed nice new contracts for police and fire, and at some point that has to translate into lower overtime. We have more police officers today. They're doing a great job in recruiting. We have more firefighters. But at some point, that has to result in lower overtime. And to address my colleague's comment that we need a garbage fee, it's really tough, I think, for the public to accept that we need a garbage fee when our overtime costs are so high. Because when our overtime costs are so high, that's an indication that there's room for improvement. And there's a disconnect in my mind saying we need more money when some people are going to look at that and say we need to spend the money that we have more wisely. And I understand there are tremendous challenges. We're working on them. We're making progress. But I think the voters will be skeptical of more fees when we're not being as efficient and effective with the money we have. So that's my thought.
I think you're spot on, Councilmember Ramirez. When we tell Houstonians how much something is going to cost, we need to be telling them an accurate number. And on this overtime issue in particular, when we see that the overtime figures are what they are, and it's year over year, and again, I'm not questioning the operational leaders on if that overtime is necessary or not. My assumption, although we are going through audits for all of these departments going forward, is that the overtime is necessary at a base level. The challenge is that we're telling Houstonians overtime is going to cost us this much, when we know at the time that we're doing it that overtime is going to be significantly more than that. If we have not made any operational changes that are meaningfully going to drive overtime down, then overtime is going to remain the same and potentially go up. If we know that at the time of budgeting, then we can't put a fictional number in the budget just to be having this conversation 6 months later when we all knew that these numbers were going to turn out directionally like this. And so, yes, I agree with you. Before we go to Houstonians and say, hey, we need you to pony up more cash to fund this critical service, we should know how much, providing world-class service costs. And then when we say that number needs to be a true number that Houstonians can expect will be the actual outcome just a few months later after we write it into a budget document. So I'm with you on that statement.
So I think, and to echo Councilmember Alcorn's point, I think what we heard at the BFA committee yesterday is not that, the controller says, well, if you're not making any changes, but that's not what we heard at the committee meeting yesterday. The directors have made operational changes to, deploy staff to try to minimize overtime in those certain areas. And so that was definitely part of our, part of our robust discussion yesterday.
If you were to sit with senior uniform leaders during budget season in 2025, which I did, and ask them, do you expect overtime to go down, which I did, they would have said no, which is what they told me.
Councilmember Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Comptroller and Finance Director. The interest and the concern about the overtime fee is absolutely concerning to the entire city. But I do recall that people questioning the effect of when overtime is done. But I do recall several years ago, there was a raise of police several years back to confront the issue of the growing crime in our city, and it was used by allocating overtime. So allocation of overtime is nothing new to this council. It's been done years before when everything, we can't project, no one can project what the outcome of what confrontation or some disaster we're going to have. No more than they projected when COVID hit. You understand? So I think what I heard from department heads on yesterday was an approach to make some differences and some changes. There was a lot of projections made about some of the money that we wouldn't get last year, but we did get. So I think the concern is admirable. I really do. I respect that in regards to the area of overtime. But I think listening to the directors, some changes have been made, and I think they're flowing with the administration about how we approach the overtime issues. But what can cause an overtime effect, I don't think any of us have a crystal ball about how we deal with that, just long as the areas that overtime is spent, like the fire department. When Chief Munoz spoke about that, we got more firefighters, but at the same time, that was money spent in regards to EMS, and when those people go into training, it leaves a vacancy. And so you got to use common sense to fulfill the responsibility to serve in the city. So I think it should be looked at, but I also think that, it takes something to try to project what can happen in the very future. So, it is what it is.
Councilmember, I agree with you that these overtime figures are nothing new, and I agree with you that we should be using common sense. Since these overtime figures are nothing new, we should look at past performance to, in some way, predict, future outcomes. And if you look at the overtime figures for solid waste, for police in particular, where overtime is tracking is directly in line with where overtime has been. In terms of what the operational leaders are doing, our report yesterday highlighted some of the solutions that have been put in place, or at least have been attempted. They noted that those haven't brought the overtime down in ways that were expected or promised. But we do want to acknowledge in writing, and I'll acknowledge it verbally here, that attempts are being made to address this issue.
Thank you. Thank you, Melissa. Excellent job. Next,
We need a motion to accept the report, please.
Councilman Alcorn.
I move that we accept the quarterly financial report dated December 31st, 2025.
Second, Castillo.
Motion made and second. All in favor say yes. Those opposed, no. Motion passes. To the consent agenda, Mr. Secretary.
Under the accept work category, items 1 and 4 have been removed for separate consideration. Is there a motion for items 2 and 4?
Castex Tatum move.
Back second.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
I'm sorry. 2 and 3.
Castex Tatum move.
Back second.
Motion made and second. All in favor say yes. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Under the purchasing and tabulation of bids category, since your list was distributed, item 7 has been pulled. Items 5 and 6 have been removed for separate consideration. Is there a motion for items 8 through 11?
Castex Tatum move.
Back second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor say yes. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Under the ordinances category, since your list was distributed, all items have been received. Item 12 has been pulled and will not be considered. Is there a vote for items 13, 15, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 23?
Just need a vote.
All in favor say yes. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Items removed for separate consideration. Is there a motion for item 1?
Castex Tatum move.
Back second.
Motion made and
Councilmember Kamen.
Councilman Kamen.
Thank you. I'm going to support this item. This was for work done in District C along the Westheimer corridor. The Westheimer, the dividing line is C and H between River Oaks and Upper Kirby. But I want to bring y'all's attention to, in FY21 and FY22, Councilmember Huffman and I teamed up to do our lane mile allocation along this very segment. Fast forward to a few years ago, and Metro comes in to do an entire corridor overlay, so we go through construction all over again. And Mayor, you've been very involved in seeing the delays and challenges with that project. The City of Houston was responsible for a lot of the water line. It's my understanding that even with one of the crossings, one of the parties neglected to order some of the safe crossing technology, so the road's going to have to, at one segment, be ripped up again. In this segment that we're paying for, we've already had a water line break towards Westland right in front of the Walgreens. So we've redone this road multiple times. There's been significant delays. Construction was a mess, and I appreciate that the director stepped in to help clean things up. But when the city was responsible for the water lines, and we've already now had one additional water line break in that same place, and we're now, I don't know, we're not clear yet if it's covered under the 1-year warranty or not. We've had conversations in the past about maybe the warranties need to be extended further, but this is an area that's heavily traveled, and we were again seeing more and more construction, and Councilmember Horn drives it every day. She's had to live this. I drive it every week. That we're paying so much, and that this area has had so much work done, and yet again we're having more pipe breaks when we just replace them, is very concerning to me. So again, I support this item. I appreciate the investment, but when we are now seeing a rip up of the street again and again and again, I have to raise the question as to what's the issue. What keeps this from happening, or why is this still happening? So.
Thank you. All in favor say yes. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Is there a motion for item 4?
Castex Tatum move.
Next second.
Motion made and seconded.
After the vote.
All in favor say yes. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Councilmember Thomas.
Thank you. Hallelujah. Shelford City Package 3 is done. We've been working on Shelford City. There are 3 packages since I was sworn in 2020. This is one of the first capital improvement projects that was initiated on the west side. So this $15 million investment, although it was ugly, it has invested in our wastewater system, which is incredibly important. So Super Neighborhood 17, Super Neighborhood 25, Ashford Village Park, Shadow Lake, it is done. We have paid the bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome. Next.
Is there a motion for item 5?
Essex say to move.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Councilman Martinez before or after?
Who would like? Anyone want to be recognized for the vote?
Martinez before.
Councilmember Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor. And just colleagues, I just want to say that this is a long time coming. I've held several committee meetings where we've discussed what is it that we need to do on the campaign finance management tool side. We know some of that area has been archaic for some time, and we've had good discussions around the horseshoe. And I'm looking forward to now making sure that we can do this electronically, campaign finance, lobbying, personal financial statements as well. It helps us as folks in these spaces to be able to do this a lot easier, but also more accessible to the community as well. This is the first phase, the campaign finance and lobbying. The next one is going to be for personal financial disclosures, which we'll need to customize here at the city, and so we'll continue to have those discussions at the Ethics and Governance Committee. So appreciate everybody's support and work on this as well.
Okay. All in favor say yes. Those opposed nay. Motion passes. Councilmember Castillo.
Thank you, Mayor. And to add on to Councilmember Martinez's comments, this system is absolutely in need of an upgrade. The lobbying forms are still done in person on paper. I mean, that's just tells you how antiquated the system is. But I will also say we should be also looking at how we enforce the requirements around the filings and folks that don't file, and making sure that we are looking at that and there are consequences, penalties, et cetera, because that is a part of this as well. We're held to rules. We should all follow those rules. We're putting the investment in to upgrade the technology so that it is not as archaic as it used to be. And council should be also holding folks accountable who don't meet those deadlines and don't follow those disclosure rules.
I totally agree.
Ramirez.
Long overdue. Councilmember Ramirez.
Thank you, Mayor, and I applaud the administration for bringing this item forward and council for passing it. Campaign finance reporting is a huge issue that the public doesn't have much information about. Unfortunately, it's only if the Chronicle happens to cover the issue and report on who has filed and who has not filed that they know about this stuff. I will say that RFD and Associates is the same company that does the State Ethics Commission website, and their reporting tool is 1,000 times better than what we have right now. So this will eliminate one excuse that municipal candidates have in navigating these important requirements. So kudos to the administration for bringing this forward. This is going to improve things, or should improve things dramatically. I want to agree with Councilmember Castillo's point about accountability. Candidates, including office holders, should be held accountable when they don't file, or they file late, or they file incorrectly. And I mentioned to our city attorney, Arturo Michel, a few months ago, that the Court of Criminal Appeals handed down an opinion a few months ago that will allow the city to enforce its own ordinances regarding campaign finance violations. So I would encourage our legal department and our municipal prosecutors to take a look at that and hold violators accountable. I think that's what the voters deserve. Thank you.
You know, this is an ongoing issue, how you hold people accountable when they have their rights to run for office at the state level. You've got people that owe significant fines to the Ethics Commission, and we still allow them to file and run for office when they're delinquent in their fines. So We've discussed it for years, and unfortunately, you can't keep them off the ballot. But that if you had a good opponent, they'd know how to make that an issue. So maybe we need a candidate class or something.
Councilman Carter.
Councilmember Carter.
Thank you, Mayor. And I certainly echo Councilmember Castillo's comments as well as Ramirez. You know, as Vice Chair of the Ethics and Governance Committee, I'm often asked, what do y'all do to enforce ethics and governance regarding council? And, you know, as antiquated as the system may be, those of us who file, whether it's on time or late, although I'm on time or late, you file, regardless how much of a lift it is, how much, you know, how long it takes, you file. And I think that certainly if you go to the city's website and you see that the governance committee is charged with oversight to campaign finance, Chapter 18 issues, blah, 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 there needs to be an arm of enforcement. Not only on finance, but also to other campaign-related issues. I get questions all the time, specifically related to council, and you know, the worst answer you can give is, I don't know, but certainly as relates to many topics regarding ethics and governance, I don't know how we enforce that, but I think we need to really take a look at practicing what we preach. Thank you.
Very good.
Kamen.
Councilmember Kamen.
Thank you, and I appreciate the conversation. And to Councilmember Martinez's point, you know, yes, it's candidates, yes, it's office holders, but our system is so old that we don't even update timely blackout periods or lobbyists, and that is a huge conflict of interest component as well. So I appreciate that we're moving in the right direction. I do want to make sure that we're tackling, Chair, to your point, it's also people that do business at the City of Houston, and that's a critical component here.
Very good.
Martinez.
Councilor Martinez.
Thank you. And I'd be remiss to thank a few of your team members, Mayor Josh Sanders, Stephen David, and of course City Attorney's Office, Danielle Folsom. That's who we were working with. And again, this is about candidates, but it's all about lobbyists as well. So I appreciate your team working with my office to see this come to fruition. Thank you.
Well, let's continue going in the right direction. There are other measures that need to be taken, and I think getting it online is a major step forward. In years past, certainly when I was considering this race, you try to go get information, you have to do an open records request, which one telegraphs what you're doing, and number two, it's very inefficient. So we'll keep improving.
That's all. Next item.
Next item.
Is there a motion for item 6?
Move. Peck second.
Motion made. Councilman Pollard.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to bring some attention to this item. I was getting some questions and calls regarding not really the technology that we're voting on, but the company Sound Thinking Inc. This company has rebranded itself, but it was the same company that owns the technology of ShotSpotter. And I was receiving questions on, is this technology that we are considering today, which is data analysis technology, will have anything to do with the coordination or integration with anything related to ShotSpotter? And I was told no. And so I do want to thank Director Kent for working with me and looking into it. But I know that has been an issue that we have brought up here in the past. And Councilmember Ramirez, you were on top of that when you first got on council. So I do want the public and those who are looking into this matter to know that, to my understanding and to the director's understanding, there's no correlation or integration with ShotSpotter or ShotSpotter technology based on this item. Thank you.
Member Ramirez.
No, just echo that. This is not bringing ShotSpotter back. This tool will give the police access to more information to help them better do their job.
Thank you.
Just need a vote.
All in favor say yes. Those opposed nay. Motion passes. Next.
Item 14 is an ordinance. Just need a vote.
All in favor, say yes. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Item 16 is an ordinance. Just need a vote.
All in favor, say yes. Those opposed, nay. Councilmember Thomas?
After.
All in favor, say yes. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Councilmember Thomas?
Thank you, colleagues, for voting on this. This continues to move the Housing Department's disaster recovery program from Winter Storm Uri, the Texas freeze. Along the line, as you recall, there was a direct allocation of $50 million for home repair and investment of generators in public facilities. So I just want to remind and those who are watching and constituents, the application is still open and available. The department is willing to drop off applications. They have virtual office hours. Take full advantage of this money. Although this item is about the contractors to do the work, the department is moving expeditiously to make sure that once they are approved, that the repairs can start. So take advantage of this information and get all that is due to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Pollard?
Thank you, Mayor. As I looked at this item, one thing I do want to emphasize, and hopefully we have parameters in place, but many times we get horror stories from individuals after the fact that when we have this disaster recovery money that goes towards home repair, that the contractors do either shoddy work or they're not doing the things that are expected or anticipated by the homeowner, and these warranties are many times difficult for the homeowner to have certain types of rights. I'm not sure if those conversations have come up. If Councilmember Thomas, if you could speak to that a little more.
Sure. So that's not this group. So we've improved and changed our home repair guidelines to reflect a more stringent response around that, and we've done that routinely to make sure that the contractors that are doing this work are providing good work based on our local guidance that's been improved over time. And so most of the critique has come from programs that were prior to Hurricane Harvey and prior to that, and with projects that were initiated not by the Housing Department.
Thank you.
Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor. And I just wanted to piggyback a little bit on what my colleague, Councilmember Pollard, mentioned, and thank Councilmember Thomas for elaborating a bit more. That was one of my concerns with this specific HUD dedication dollars for the disaster recovery, was that we were getting a lot of horror stories, folks that were coming back and contractors weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing. I know I had mentioned that whenever the director was coming for the committee meetings during that time. The director also was reassuring that we're going to have contractors that were going to fulfill the job. What I would encourage everybody that ultimately goes through this process of home repair is take pictures before, take pictures during, and take pictures after. Just to make sure that we're holding these contractors accountable. This is a lot of money that we receive from the federal government that we need to make sure that we're being responsible with as well, and not having more folks coming to City Hall saying that they have a sheetrock, big square sheetrock out of their living room, still not repaired. And so again, thank you, Councilmember Thomas, for continuing to work with the director on this. And again, to the constituents, just be mindful. Document.
Anyone else? All in favor say yes. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Item 17 is an ordinance. Just need a vote.
All in favor say yes. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Item 22 is an ordinance. Just need a vote.
All in favor say yes. Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Item 24 is an ordinance. Just need a vote.
Councilor Kamen.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an important item. Given the amount that we're allocating, we did speak with Public Works. They are requesting we pass it today, but I would ask that this can come to committee, given it's over $46 million, so that they can provide an update. Public Works has said they're willing to, but we need to make sure it gets on committee.
Sure.
So I'm making that request that this gets set for committee for a hearing, given how large the amount is.
Sure. So you'd like to hold it till you have...
No, we'll pass
Wait,
it based on
okay,
Public
and
Works'
then
request.
come back
but-
with us with an update.
Yes, sir.
Excellent.
Just need a vote.
All in favor say yes. Those opposed nay. Motion passes. We'll definitely follow up.
This completes the items on the agenda.
Very good.
Let's do the Davidson first.
Councilmember Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to highlight that we will be, I want to thank the Public Works for responding yesterday on the major water main leak there at Delano in Houston. There, they was called by a couple of constituents there, and we try to move and help and assist all of those that in those areas, and we did, and they responded. They got it fixed expeditiously. So I want to give that shout out to Public Works in that. Next, I want to also thank the school, Sam Houston High School, who invited us to come out and speak to two of their government classes and on this week, and it went very well. Had a chance to speak to some seniors and two junior classes on local government, which went very well. And also, just a few months ago, I was asked to go to the Energy Institute High School of HISD, and you know, the keen interest there was they were positive. These kids were dealing with food deserts. There's a 22 group of young people that are focusing on food deserts in many of our districts, and so I thought that was very well organized, and I was happy to go and be one of the speakers for them. That was my second time with the Engineering Institute High School. Lastly, I want to remind of our town hall coming up this month. We will be in the Metropolitan Multi-Service Center starting at 5:45 p.m. We are really excited about the participation and response for those who are going to be attending. We've had very, very good attendance in the past ones, and we certainly invite all to come out that want to. There will be some door prizes that we will give, resources, tables from city departments, partner organizations, food from Will Abbott from Cafe Junior, I believe, and community Q&A with department leadership. Some of the new things that rolled out here this past week, we'll get a chance to address some of those in the town hall, and we welcome that. The list so far that we have confirmed is our chief of police, fire, public safety, and homeland security, Director Satterwhite, Public Works, Chris Butler, OEM, Brian Mason will be with us, City Attorney Arturo Michelle will be with us, Solid Waste Director, Brother Hanson, and the Mayor's Office with disability. So we're looking forward to a good turnout of those. So, but we
You want
pray.
to say, give us a date and location
February
one more time,
9th.
because if you
I'm
want to do
sorry,
any
February
business
9th.
with the city, you were going to have to go to your location.
Yeah, Metropolitan. So we'll be there. But when we give these, we like to be inclusive of everybody that want to.
Oh, man.
So we don't want to center on any one individual.
You know you're tampering with overtime.
Oh, is that what it is? All right. Well, then maybe we need.
Don't worry, I'll approve it. Go
Okay.
for it.
well, maybe we need to call the controller back. I don't know.
Don't worry, you're in good shape.
All right. Thank you.
Councilmember Flickinger.
Thank you, Mayor. We're going to have the electronic recycling in Kingwood at the Park and Ride starting at 9 o'clock on Saturday, February 7th. It goes until 3 or until the trucks are full. So come early to make sure they aren't full. Thank you.
Councilman Kamen.
Thank you, Mayor. Just first want to recognize Black History Month and while honoring our past, continuing to bring forth into the future the importance of our Black and African American community here in Houston. This Thursday from 5:30 to 6:45, our library is hosting African American Read-In at the African American History Research Center at the Gregory School. You can register online at the library's website. It's a great opportunity for all ages. I did want to speak to yesterday. There were a lot of high school students in the city of Houston that participated in a walkout in support of one of their students, their classmates who has been detained by ICE since December. This is a high school student at Sam Houston Math, Science, and Technology Center, and a lot of the students are now being attacked at the state level for using their voice to stand up for their classmate. So I want to publicly acknowledge all the students that are using their voice, that are engaging civically and speaking out for their friends, their family members. And I want to thank all of the peaceful, and I emphasize peaceful protesters that were in District C at Irvin Chu Park over the weekend. It was actually a beautiful celebration of culture, of heritage, of community, and again, I appreciate HPD's involvement to keep everybody safe, to manage traffic. But I do want to say that we are seeing what's happening across the nation, and we are asked often, well, this is Houston, why are you focusing on another part of the country? Well, the detention centers are in Texas, where children and mothers that are breastfeeding are being sent. It is in our own backyard, and we do have an obligation and a responsibility to speak out because it is in Texas where this is happening, and additional warehouses are being purchased in the state to expand detention capacity, so this is our responsibility. I do want to end on a high note, thanking all city departments for coming together during the freeze. Whether it's our 911 call takers that are sleeping at OEM in hallways because we don't have bed capacity for those working 24/7 shifts, whether it's our health department, our parks department, who has been staffing the warming centers. It is an incredible undertaking, and they are all heroes, and we appreciate them. And I want to thank the health department also. Mayor, as we talked before the first round of the freeze, I had asked for inspections, proactive inspections at Life at Jackson Square. And the city department stepped up, and what we found was over 500 units did not have heat for months. Inexcusable. Dangerous. We've had multiple fires there. I know we're going through the process of Chapter 125, but we need more inspections. This is not the only location where this is happening. I really appreciate OEM and VOAD teaming up with us to do blanket distributions. In a 1,000-unit complex, we were walking around giving out blankets, socks. We saw bullet shells around the apartment complex. Just absolutely deplorable conditions. My office is going to be funding an additional $10,000 citywide for health department to increase overtime inspections of dangerous apartment complexes. There's much more that needs to be done, and I understand some of this legally because of the roving HFC issue with Pecos County. There's certain things that are tying our hands, but I want to draw attention to the fact that at this location, it is with Pecos County's Housing Finance Corporation. They are getting our tax dollars. The company that owns the property is getting a tax rebate or tax break, abatement, thank you, and is not investing that money back into the property, which they should be. So we're losing our tax dollars to another county hundreds of miles away, and they are not investing to keep little children and seniors safe at this property. It's a huge issue. Again, I appreciate all the residents, both on the property and in the surrounding area, and Mayor, all the departments that are coming together to address the issue, but our office is stepping up with additional funding for inspections with the health department that will not just be for this location, but citywide, because the health department does not have sufficient funding right now to do the amount of inspections that we need.
Thank you, and thank you for your leadership and really giving me the opportunity to thank all of our city employees working overtime, many of them sleeping on the floor. Just think for a moment, we had our warming centers open 2 weekends in a row. It's amazing, the coordination, collaboration. It was costly, but we made the right decision. On the second weekend, it was a close call, but we chose to be cautious. And the directors, Dr. Tran at Health was present at all of them, and had 2 police officers at each. Public Works was there, 2 firefighters were at each, but really, it was a great effort and very successful, and thank you for allowing me to thank all the city employees and the directors. Councilor Ramirez.
Thank you, Mayor. And I, too, want to salute the unsung heroes who work for the city, who, when we have these weather events, really have to step up, sometimes at the expense of their families, and serve us all, and they include the first responders, police and fire, the folks who work at OEM, the folks who man the warming centers, a lot of folks involved, and we appreciate their service. I also want to mention that last week, Harris County Commissioners Court met and heard a report on the community feedback that had been given in relation to the proposed condemnation of part of Herman Park by Harris Health in order to expand Ben Taub. And of course, Ben Taub is a vital resource that serves all Houstonians and has for many years, and it needs to be expanded so that it can perform the level of care that we need for it to. We also need to make sure that our parks are taken care of. Parks are a core function of municipal government, and Herman Park is one of our finest. And so, at some point in the future, I think this condemnation is going to go forward. All indications of that happening are being seen, and if that does, then the city will stand to be compensated at some amount for the value of that parkland that may be taken. And when we reach that point, I hope that all of us work to make sure that those funds go back into parks. If not Herman Park, then our park system as a whole. We had an interesting discussion yesterday about the open spaces ordinance and whether or not that needs to be changed. One of the functions of that open spaces ordinance is to provide funds for acquisition and maintenance of parks. So Ben Taub is important. Parks are hugely important as well. I hope we just can continue to see that. Thank you.
Mentioning parks, I don't think I gave a shout out to the Parks Department that was doing one heck of a job. Director Allen was overseeing his operation. So really, you could think about most departments were involved in pulling off a successful warming center. We did have backup generators prepared. Center Point certainly had all hands on deck, a lot of preparation. So thank you for mentioning parks. Oh, and Commissioner Briones opening Balin. And so I had the opportunity to visit that site, which is close to the Southwest Multi-Service Center, but the collaboration there was indeed very rewarding. Thank you. Councilmember Thomas.
Thank you. Happy Black History Month. What started as Negro History Week in 1926 by Carter G. Woodson was later expanded to 1 month of Black History Month during the U.S.'s bicentennial. February was selected in honor of two great Americans, Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass, and this year marks 100 years of American history. This year's theme is a history of Black commemorations. So I want to encourage you to learn more about your Black history, your American history, and the Houston Public Library has a series of activations, and I'll be in West Chase later this month for the book read-in. Councilmember Kamen, thank you for your comments about your work around that apartment complex, and I think it's apropos, as we mentioned, the apartment inspection item that was deferred back later this past fall in October, later came back to this body in December and was referred back again. The administration has requested that I, along with Mayor Pro Tem Martha Cassix Tatum, Chair of Economic Development, that we co-clerk this item between Housing and Economic Development, and that is soon to come. We plan on having an announcement of community meetings to roll out on Friday, and I think it's really important is that, the $10,000 is, I know what that investment means, but $10,000 won't do, right? And so part of the community meetings that we'll roll out, we'll have 2 citywide meetings, because what we have to make sure that we do is not just put something on the books to say that we did something, but we have to do something that is meaningful for Houstonians long term, which often includes a financial investment, which often includes making sure that our departments, health, public works, HPD, you name it, anyone that touches apartment inspection reform or habitability, that they have what they need to be successful, because quality of life and public safety is at the table. I want to encourage tenants, leaseholders, stakeholders, property owners, landlords, all of you, you are welcome to be here. We are working with our departments to make sure that we have representatives from each department that touches this project so they can explain 2 things. One, what is existing on the books today. Number 2, what is proposed by the administration? And what we will want to hear from you is making sure that what are you hearing that has not been included on that document. So by the time we clerk this at the committee, we only have 30 days to get this to council for vote, and it'll be the most clean, robust, holistic, well-represented ordinance for the people of Houston. Excited to get this across the finish line after Super Bowl. Super Bowl is on Thursday, February 5th, our 9% tax credits, which I think go hand in hand when we talk about affordable housing projects and making sure that we advance multifamily housing projects that protect from flooding, quality of life. They're safe, they're clean, and they're in the right opportunity communities. So as we identify bad actors and work to repair and remedy, we also have to make sure that we are investing in multifamily projects in this city so people don't have to live in squalor and that they have housing of choice options. Please watch that special call meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. You can watch it on my YouTube page or Facebook Live for the City of Houston, HTV. And if you want to review the proposals in advance, this is already posted. Council offices should already have it. If you are a civic club, super neighborhood, HOA leader, and there is one in your area and you have not been reached out to, contact your council office so they can connect you to the developer for the proposed application so you can make sure that you are involved in that process. Moving on. In terms of our homeless response on the west side and the freeze, I just want to continue to shout out our District F hotspot team, my exceptional staff, all of our partners, our faith partners that opened up the churches and continue to serve during the Arctic freeze. And this has led us and really informed us of our work on the west side and really just overall. So I want you to save the date for Saturday, April 4th. That is Resurrection Saturday, Easter weekend. And we're going to host a rapid response community event for our unhoused neighbors where we'll provide showers, haircuts, food, resources, case management, and more details to come out. And we definitely will be compelling the community to walk hand in hand with us after that. If my office could be of any assistance to you in the interim, reach out to District F at houstontx.gov. Thank you.
Ma'am. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of announcements in District K. Colleagues, I do want to thank you for your support on item 18. I do want to amplify the work of TERS 9. In the 8 years that I've served on City Council, This will be the first time that we have 2 single-family home developments going into District K. District K, as you all know, is a very bedroom community with 95 civic clubs and HOAs, so we're very excited about having 2 new single-family home developments coming to District K. We'll have 30 homes in the Simsbrook neighborhood, and then we'll have 80 Ashton Woods homes in the neighborhood near Townwood Park. So both of those are scheduled to break ground at the end of 2026, early 2027. So we're very excited about having some additional attainable homes in District K. So thank you for your support of item 18. And then last weekend we did host our Shred Day. We had a lot of participation, and we got a lot of emails and text messages saying, "Oh man, I missed it." So your second opportunity is February 21st in partnership with New Faith Church. We'll be there from 9 to 12. You can bring your documents that need to be shred, and we will accept those. We have plenty of capacity, and this is just not for residents that live in District K. If you are Houstonian and you need to rid some items for shredding, please drive through on February the 21st from 9 to 12 at New Faith Church. And then I do want to let all of our neighborhood presidents, our Civic Club, HOA, Super Neighborhood presidents, that we will have our first 2026 President's Advisory Council meeting. It will be held on April the 9th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at New Faith facility. No, I'm sorry, it's not at New Faith. It will be at Fountain Life Center. And that will be on April the 9th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. So we look forward to having a robust conversation with our Civic Club presidents, neighborhood presidents, and super neighborhood presidents. And then also, again, happy Black History Month. We're very excited. Mayor, I do hope that we will shout out the director and the planning committee in the library, because they have done a tremendous job of making sure that we have Black History programs throughout the entire city at all of our libraries. There will be 2 in District K, one at Stimley Blue Library, and then also we will have a second one on February the 28th at 2 p.m. Also at Stimley Blue Library. So I was on the library's website and saw all of the programming around Black History, and I think it's impressive, and I hope that Houstonians will participate in the programs that have been curated for us this month. And then finally, I want to let the residents in the Brayburn Gardens neighborhood know about a public hearing tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. The Planning and Development Department will hold a public hearing on the partial replatting of Brayburn Gardens. And this property is located at 11807 Bedford Street. It's east along Bedford Street between West Belford Avenue and Dorrance Road. And this meeting will be held at the City Hall Annex here at 900 Bagby Street on the public level. So if you have some concerns about the replatting of that property, the public hearing will be held on tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Y'all be kind to each other and make it a great day.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Pro Tem Peck.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm excited to join the Houston Parks Board and Fit Houston this Saturday for a Spring Branch Trail walk-in talk. It will be from 10 a.m. to noon at Schwartz Park, and it will there'll be free snacks and refreshments, stretching session led by Fit Houston, and an interactive walk along the trail. So please join us for that. And then this coming Tuesday is our Public Safety Committee meeting. It will be a joint meeting with the Government Operations Committee. 10 a.m. on Tuesday, HPD will present about safety related to FIFA, and HPD and HFD will review post-accident driving policies. So please join us for our committee meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor. Monday night, I kicked off my semi-annual Civic Club tour in Magnolia Park. Yesterday, I was at East Lawndale. As someone that used to go to these meetings a lot as a staffer, I really enjoy going back and having these very honest conversations with community about what we're doing and what we're talking about around the horseshoe. Usually, at this point, is really getting folks to get prepared for the budget season and making sure that they tune in to what these budget workshops that will be happening in the coming months, and having really just difficult conversations about what they want to see their city look like. How do we right-size departments, and how do we course correct where we have been, quite frankly, for over a decade. And also with these conversations, solid waste, I want to definitely thank the mayor and the administration. For the past 2 years, I've submitted a budget amendment on demand heavy trash pickup. I'm excited about seeing this. I do have some caution how quickly it's rolling out. So I'm using this opportunity at the Civic Club Tours to make sure that folks understand what is it that we're trying to do when we start making sure that our operational side of solid waste is becoming more efficient. Aside from those types of conversations, really what's being really at the helm of the discussion has been concerns about ICE, of course. We've had this discussion around the horseshoe. And I want to welcome these conversations, continue to welcome those conversations here at City Hall, but also as we're out in the community, just to reassure folks about the facts. Want to make sure that folks know that HPD will continue to focus on local law enforcement and leave federal law enforcement matters to federal agents. I want to thank HPD specifically. This past Friday, they participated in what we have every other month meeting, Café con Policía, in the Hobby area. Something that started about 7 years ago. They were out there. It's a Spanish language coffee with the police. We had about 30 participants that came in from District I and, quite frankly, from across the city as well. And my hopes is that we can continue to find opportunities where we engage and rebuild the trust with law enforcement and community, which leads me into my office is working with Councilmember Castillo, Councilmember Salinas, and Councilmember Ramirez with a Know Your Rights community conversation. It is going to be February the 21st at 9 a.m. at the Tejano Center in the southeast part of Houston in District I. And quite frankly, we invite all to attend and hear from community members. And if you have any questions, my office is here. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.
Very good. Councilor Pollard.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to give my condolences to the family and loved ones of the passing of DJ Michael 5000 Watts. He was the influential founder and owner of the Swisher House record label right here in Houston. He helped lead and to shape the sound of Houston hip-hop as a DJ through his work through Swisher House and as a weekend DJ on 97.9 The Box. Many of our outstanding hip-hop artists that are known all around the world, such as Paul Wall, Slim Thug, Chamillionaire, Mike Jones, Mike Jones, all came out of Swisher House under the development and leadership of DJ Michael 5000 Watts. And so I want to lift his name and his legacy and let folks know that there is a King's Day that is being organized on February 12th. Those details are to come out soon. But to give condolences to his family. He was an incredible and influential figure here in the city of Houston. He will be missed. Thank you.
Councilor Alcorn.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank everybody for participating in yesterday's meeting. We're going to try to, next quarterly meeting, just limit it to the things that we do at the quarterly thing, like the EY progress and the overtime amount. So I apologize for the length of the meeting, but lots of good discussion. Mayor, I do want to keep talking about the open space ordinance. That's an ordinance that we haven't looked at since 2007. The fee's been the same. The way the lines have been drawn for the park sectors, the Parks Director indicated that was not the most equitable way to have the lines and those funds and those things. So I think as we look at what we have to do to follow the state law and the open space ordinance, we should in tandem be looking at the fee and the park sectors themselves and really try to improve that fund for additional funding for parks. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Carter. Councilmember Evans Shabazz.
Oh, exactly. I'm reclaiming your time.
Exactly.
No, actually, I'm going to be pretty short today. I want to first start out saying, well, thank you, Mayor. On Thursday, January the 29th, we convened a community meeting at the Judson Robinson Civic Center focused on non-permitted structures and short-term rental activity. Residents engage directly with city departments to discuss enforcement, coordination, inspection processes, municipal court involvement, neighborhood impacts, and next steps. Mayor, I really need some help with something. It is something I have talked about for quite some time. On the permit form, they only give a cursory attention to whether civic clubs have been engaged regarding deed restrictions. And of course, the answer is always going to be yes. But I am asking that the form be changed to actually have a signature of a civic club leader designated, a super neighborhood, or even a committee, the architectural committee signature. Because if that is not signed, then that would give notice to permitting to do not issue a permit. Now, we do know that there are people that are going around the whole process, but certainly when it comes to those that are engaging, we want to do whatever we can because we are inundated with these short-term rentals. I just don't know how to go about getting it done, and so I'm coming to you and your staff to help us to facilitate that change on that form. And so I will, confer with you later after you have investigated the situation to see how that could be facilitated. And I want to sincerely thank you, Mayor, for visiting our warming centers. You gave me a very nice shout out, and I really appreciate that. The people in the community really appreciate these warming centers because, unfortunately, some of them don't have anywhere to go, and we want them to be safe. And so certainly I thank you for your visitation of our centers, and I'm certainly thankful to the staff who came and certainly took care of the people that are there. And also I want to thank the City of Houston staff that did attend that meeting on last week. Also on today, I will attend the Museum Park Neighborhood Association General Meeting to provide a District D update and hear directly from the residents. That will be at 6 p.m. tonight, 4949 Caroline Street. I want to thank Pam Campbell, President of the Museum Park Neighborhood Association, and the MPNA leadership for their continued work in strengthening community dialogue and civic engagement. And I have on my crimson and my gold because I am certainly lifting up Jack Yates High School, JY for Life. Certainly it is our 100-year anniversary of the school. Actually, it was established in 1926 on February the 8th, which ironically was my dad's birthday was February the 8th. And, he was a coach at Jack Yates, so I think that's kind of ironic. And certainly I'm a proud graduate of the Jack Yates High School. So we have activities that are planned for this month, and certainly I will be sharing them through my Facebook and through the media so that people can come out and participate. There's only one Jack Yates. One Jack Yates. You have other Phyllis Wheatleys, you have other, and I love Phyllis Wheatley, don't y'all start inundating me with that. But certainly there's only one Jack Yates. And certainly as one of the founders of the Emancipation Park, Reverend Jack Yates was such a phenomenal person. And so thank you, and this moment belongs to the entire community, and certainly I lift it up with pride and reverence. This concludes what's going on in the District of Destination, and you beat me this week, Tiffany.
Just barely.
Barely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. This month, February, is Love Your Pet Month in District H, and there will be a number of events and partnerships around responsible pet ownership that I want to highlight for folks who want to take advantage of this. In partnership with BARC, Every Friday, pet wellness events will be sponsored for District H residents. You can call Bark and get your appointment for your dog or cat. This will include vaccines, deworming, and microchips available Fridays throughout the month of February. Also, February 13th, 14th, and 15th, the weekend of Valentine's Day, adoptions will be sponsored for District H residents. So if you've got some extra love to give over Valentine's Day weekend, you want to bring in a pet to your family, that'll be a great time to do that, help free up some space at our shelter. In partnership with Houston Pet Set, there will be mobile spay-neuter appointments available throughout the district. February 13th and 16th, the Pet Set mobile unit will be at Wabash on Shepherd Drive. And on the 20th and the 22nd, it will be at Zoomies in the 2nd Ward. You can visit Pet Set's website to schedule your appointment. We will also be sharing out on social media and in the newsletter information on how to schedule appointments. These are $20 spay-neuter procedures in partnership with Pet Set. And then a pet pantry event will take place at Bella Vista Baptist Church in the Independence Heights neighborhood February 25th from 2 to 4. This is in partnership with the Houston Humane Society and Best Friends Animal Society. This will be a drive-through, first-come, first-serve basis where you can go through the line, receive food for dogs or cats, and this is at no cost to folks that are in need. Also want to thank the departments that showed up to the Melrose Park Town Hall this past week. It was cold. We had a good showing from city departments, resources, also from the community. I want to thank Councilmember Salinas and Councilmember Kamen for also being there, and also Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, who made an appearance and provided an update. Our next town hall will be February 28th, 10 a.m. This will be the East Tex Jensen Town Hall at the Shady Lane Park Community Center. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Evans Shabazz.
Thank you, Mayor. I wasn't trying to save the best for last, but certainly I want to highlight Stephanie Square, who's the principal at Jack Yates High School. But we also lifted up Greg Wise, our basketball coach at Jack Yates. He got his 1,000th win. That's quite an accomplishment. So I certainly wanted to lift that up along with the other activities of the Jack Yates High School. Thank you, Mayor and colleagues.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Mayor and colleagues, I omitted something important in my remarks. Many of you know I get to represent the district I grew up in, and we lost one of the pioneers in our community. Her name is Janelle Scott, and what makes this important for me to share with you is Ms. Scott was one of the very first black women to work in the HPD Police Academy. She was one of the very first black female police officers, and she passed away last Friday, and she's the mother of one of my best friends from high school. Her funeral will be at New Faith Church on the 10th, but we were looking at all of the commendations that she received, and she wrote a story, and she talked about how the first black females that were hired into HPD, how they couldn't eat lunch at the same place that the other HPD officers got to eat lunch. So reading those articles really reminded me how this wasn't long ago when this happened. So I'm going to make copies of the articles and share them with the council members. But Mayor, I'd like for us to adjourn today in honor of HPD officer Janelle Scott, who served for 23 years and was one of the very first black female officers in the city of Houston.
Very well. Anything else come before council? If not, you want to make that motion in honor of the former police officer?
All right.
Which was not that long ago, as you mentioned.
Council, we stand adjourned today in honor of Janelle Scott, who was one of the first black women to work in the HPD Police Academy, who passed away this year. We will be adjourned today in her honor to celebrate her remarkable life and service to the city of Houston.
Perfect.